Hey guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. Today we will see what if Naruto returns Konoha with Aphrodite. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. This was not just the place where gods and goddesses gathered to have their yearly meeting every winter solstice. The mountain was also called Paradise, with golden buildings and happy people. Located at the top of it was a large city containing the palaces for the Olympian gods, goddesses, and residences for many minor gods and other creatures of Greek mythology. But the greatest structure of Mount Olympus was the throne room, the Hall of the Gods. It is the place where the gods have their summer and winter solstice meetings. High above, the blue ceiling could be seen glittering with constellations. The thrones of the gods stand in a U around the hearth, starting with Zeus and Poseidon's thrones, as they are the most powerful Greek gods. From Zeus and Poseidon's thrones, the goddesses sit on the left side of the hearth and the other gods sit on the right side, and Hestia's hearth is in the center of the hall. As this wasn't winter solstice, there were no gods or goddesses occupied the throne room, unless situation call for an emergency meeting. All of the Olympians were all over the world minding their own businesses, or taking care of what they represent for. However, there were two god and goddess currently in the throne room, sitting on their respective thrones with a dark atmosphere surrounding them. The god was tall, imposing, and very muscular, with long black shoulder-length hair with a gray and black neatly trimmed beard. He had brilliant electrically blue eyes with a serious and proud, but very handsome face. His attire was a dark blue pinstriped suit. This was Zeus, the Greek god of honor, justice, lightning, rain and the skies. He is the king of Olympus, the youngest son of the titans Kronos and Rhea, and the husband of the goddess Hera. Speaking of his wife, Hera was sitting next to him with a face void of any emotion. Hera is the most beautiful daughter of Kronos and Rhea, with long licorice black hair, a face of regal and unapproachable beauty like that of a supermodel on a fashion runway, and large, soft brown eyes that one could get lost in. She is the goddess of familial love, marriage, motherhood, women, and also the queen of Olympus. The tension between them was thick, as if one could cut through it with a knife. The king and queen of Olympus didn't speak any words to each other for a whole week now, all because the horrible event that happened last Sunday. Talia Grace, the demigod daughter of Zeus, was killed by the monsters sent by Hades right in front of Camp Half-Blood, and later turned into a tree with magic to protect the camp from all monsters by her father. "What? Hades, you bastard, why you trying to kill my daughter?" Zeus shouted at Hades, who looked annoyed by voice. "Do you remember our Poseidon's oath not making a demigods? I just only follow the promise. To send every monsters after your demigods. You little. I'm older, you know," he said, grinning at Zeus' attempts. "Now shush you two. Let Hera read before she hit you both." Hestia is trying to calm Zeus. Hera felt disappointed, but she kept reading. Hera didn't feel happy, not in the slightest. It was bad enough that Zeus cheated on her again, her, the goddess of marriage, for a mere mortal woman. But he also turned his daughter with her into a tree to keep her away from Hades after her death. She loves her husband with all her heart, but he could never keep it in his pant and stay loyal to her, like how she always do to him. They went through so much thing together, and Zeus cringed at the thought of his wife and tried to hide his shame. But Hera noticed. "Hera, he said with a low tone. "Don't, save it." She looked away, her face still remained the same. After so many millenniums experienced her husband cheated on her for so many times, she had come to get used to it physically. But unlike her son, Hephaestus, who would more than happy to be divorced with his unfaithful wife, she could never get over it mentally. It hurt so much every time an offspring of him was discovered. "Hera, stop it. I will go back to our palace first." Hera stood up and was about to teleport away, but her husband suddenly grabbed her wrist. "Please wait, Kushina. What? You have built a human body and lived among the mortals?" Athena asked the queen. "Yes, we decided that we should once live and feel like immortals." Hera answered sadly. It was good idea before she got birth. Oh, why she choose this human body? Just how many years had he called her with that name? It was so long ago, the only times she found herself truly happy with him, with the marriage between them. No godly power, nothing to worry about. Just the love between them. "So you wanted a simple family, am I right, sister?" Demeter asked. Hestia feel happy that she is not only want a simple mortal-like family. She looked at Hera and smiled supportingly, which got a surprised look from her. Elemental nations, the place where primordial gods and goddesses created long ago, separated from this world. It was the world where superhuman beings called shinobi lived and worked, using an energy called chakra to make bend the powers of nature to their will and do things only gods and goddesses of this world could do. Only Zeus, Hera and the elder gods as well as the upper-class primordial knew about the place, as it was kept at a top-secret information to the other gods. "Ah, I want go to this place." "Ditto. Not a chance, kids. Only elders go to that world." Zeus thought it might be a good idea if the both of them start thing over again, and Hera thought she could finally living in the world she always dreamed of with her husband at her side. With the help of the Fates and Hecate, goddess of magic, they were able to create an artifact body, able to hide their godly aspect as well as the power. Literary became completely human and reincarnated into elemental nation. The both of them thought it might be a good experience in order to strengthen their relationship. There, Zeus was a boy named Minato Namikaze. His black hair changed to blonde and features changed as well to match the appearance of the people at Elemental Nation, but he kept his brilliant electric blue eyes. Helper summoned an image of Zeus' mortal look. Aphrodite slightly drooled at the image. Hera masked herself with the name Kushina Uzumaki. Her appearance also changed, but Hera still kept her fiery nature, which scared the hell out of Zeus, Minato. Then he turned image a Kushina look. "Oh my, Hera, you outdid yourself. That's right, sister. You look good. You have eat a good cereal from their world." Everyone rolled their eyes at the Demeter comment. Hades just snorted at her, which Demeter sent him a glare. They had so much fun time together. Since Zeus was also the god of drama, he was so into his character that Hera couldn't help but more into Kushina as well. "Oh order. Zeus can't make his wife happy even in mortal form." Poseidon laughed. "Zeus only growl. 'Get your hand of me,' she said coldly, 'and don't you dare call me with that name again, Zeus.'" Everything came with a price. The Fates had warned them about it, but the two couldn't aware of what would happen there. They had a son there. His name was Naruto. A smile brought to their face when they remembered when he was in womb. They were so happy. He was no god, just a boy who Hera bared and birthed in the traditional way. The first time in her life, she felt so much price from her child. He was so perfect to her and Zeus. What? But how he would become a prince? To take a title need he should be a god. Athena quickly began to think to find answer of book's title. But everything was ruined the same night, just because she chose to be Kushina Uzumaki. "Hera, please, I'm sorry," Zeus said, also standing up. "I can't just let Talia like that fall into the hand of my brother. Then you shouldn't bring her to this world in the first place, Zeus." Hera turned around, her beautiful brown eyes radiating with power. "It was all your fault, your fault." She raised her voice a little. "I know. If it not for you, nothing is going to happen. If it not for you, I wouldn't be hated by most of the Olympians, thinking that I am nothing more than a demigod's hater." She pushed him with each words. But Zeus just stood there, listened to her every words. "If it's not for you, Naruto-kun would still be alive." She finished with a massive hit on his chest, nearly breaking his godly ribs. Her son, her beautiful son, was dead the same day he made the first cry. A creature whose power rivaled Typhoon, Olympus Destroyer, could kill her and her husband's human aspects, but it couldn't kill their godly nature. So instead of themselves, their human souls went to Elemental Nation's underworld, while the artifact body with a soul named Minato forever stuck in Shinigami's gut and suffered the worst kind of pain. When the two returned from the death and asked for Naruto, their son, so they could bring him to this world and raise him as he was the new connection of Zeus and Hera. Sarutobi Hiruzen, one of the only people knew about their true existence, told them he was dead. Their son, Naruto, was dead. Hera tried to search for his memories to see if he was telling the truth or not, but the moment she saw the old Hokage gently laid a small coffin down to the hole between their supposed grave, Hera broke down into tear. Even she couldn't come to visit him and once again hold him in her arms, just because Elemental Nation's underworld was very different than them. The place was out of order, there was no Elysium, no mercy was shown there, just the worst punishment for souls. So there no Elysium. Harsh. Hades murmured. Zeus wasn't better than her, he tried to act tough, but the death of his son was too much. They both swore to never return to Elemental Nations, as the place brought them too much painful memories. Hera locked herself in her palace days, then weeks became months and months became years. She never experienced her child's death before, as all of her children were gods or goddesses. But it broke her heart. Just remember about Naruto. Zeus, he only appeared on Olympus on winter solstice and spent much times on earth in grief of his son. That was when he got a mortal pregnant with his child, completely breaking the oath of the Big Three. Do not try to vindicate yourself, Zeus. I know you better than anyone. Hera looked away. She didn't want to meet his eyes, the same eyes of her son, Naruto. You sealed the Kyuubi in Naruto, and that is the reason why he was dead. All because of you. I don't have anything to justify myself, but I did what I must, as a leader of Konoha. There was a long moment of silence between them. However, before neither of them could speak up, the entire throne room shook violently when a massive wave of power hit them. All over the world the gods and goddesses gasped in shock when that wave of energy hit them. While the minor gods was confused by the energy wave, all of the Olympians knew the true reason about that wave of energy. It once happened before and only happened once in a lifetimes. In fact, the Olympians couldn't believe they would able to feel it the second time during their immortal life. It was the feeling of a human fighting on the equal ground of a primordial being. Such fact almost impossible. Help her to demonstrate the Naruto's and Sasuke's power, let a little bit of their power to feel. The younger Olympians was shocked. A humans that can be in part primordial. That terrifying. Oldest recalled the rare shinobis who had that much power. But they never had this much power. Zeus. I know. The king of God nodded his head at his queen's call and summoned his master bolt. Launching a massive thunderbolt to the sky that shook an entire sky, Zeus summoned the other 12 Olympians, even Hades. In flashes of light, all 12 Olympians appeared in the throne room, sitting down their respective throne with a confused expression on their face, especially the younger gods and goddesses. Hades appeared a moment later and sat down the chair prepared for him, actually surprised by the sudden invitation to Olympus. Hestia was also present and sitting at her usual place beside the hearth. Olympians, Zeus spoke with a book. I summon you all here to discuss about the sudden wave of energy hit the godly world just a moment ago. What about it, Father? Athena spoke up. In all my immortal life I have never feel something like that. I tried to search for it in book and... Please Athena, we don't need you to rant about what you found in there, Ares spoke up sarcastically. You have a death wish, Ares? The goddess of war looked at him dangerously. You wanna fight? Oh, here we go. Ouch. Lil sis, why you did that? Apollo rubbed his head where her sister was smacked. You're annoying, simply said Artemis. And don't I tell you stop calling that? Oh, I get it. Apollo laughed while pointing between Aphrodite and the god of war. Zeus disturbed the both of you, didn't he? I guess Ares was about to see. Don't finish that sentence, Apollo, or I will hex your children with the worst kind of love. Aphrodite waved her hand annoyedly before summoning her makeups to fix herself, face and everything, which was ruined by the rough she just had with her lover. Ah, you're no. Silent. Zeus roared, making all voices in the throne room disappeared. Good, then listen carefully. What you felt just a moment ago was the alerting energy, only appear when a human fighting on the equal ground against a primordial being. Almost every jaws in the room were dropped down to the ground in shock. You're kidding, Father. Athena was the first Olympians to regain her cool. You're kidding. No mere mortal could fight against a god, let alone a primordial being which could be even stronger than gods themselves. My words are the truth. I swear it on the sticks. Thunders rumbled outside and, even most of them didn't admit it. They hoped Zeus was punished by telling lie, even though it couldn't happen due to his position as a god. Now, as I was saying, this wave of energy only appeared to alert the immortal whenever a human have power to fight against someone equal, or even powerful than them. We still don't know much anything this mortal or the one he was fighting, but that mortal can become a dangerous threat to us if we don't do something about it. Iris, show us. Zeus sat down to his throne and called out loudly to the goddess of rainbow, and male sure no one can see us. A thin mist appeared at the middle of the throne room and the screen of different place slowly appeared inside. A humanoid figure then slowly made itself clear within the mist. At first it was just a shadow figure, but slowly they could see how the humanoid figure truly looked like. No way. Hera shocked at what she read but continued reading. No, they all heard. Hera gasped in shock. Even Zeus dropped his master bolt and stood up from his throne in shock. It can't be. Zeus muttered, anyone, but her. The person within the iris mist was a woman with extremely beauty, with extremely long, sweeping white hair that touched the ground. Most noticeable were two horn-like protrusions which stuck out from her head. The woman had abnormal white eyes, with the veins around her temples became noticeable, and she also had a third eye on the center of her forehead that's eyelids parted vertically. Her eyebrows were cut very short, a symbol of nobility, and she wore a dark shade of lipstick on her lips and a dark shade of nail polish on her long fingernails. She wore the transitional high-collared hime kimono, which was adorned with intricate lines that are gold and purple and tomo running down the center and edges of the gown. What a hottie! Ouch! Apollo was impaled by silver arrow in thigh dangerously close to his crotch. Sis, why did that? Really? The only thing you thought, Apollo? You are hopeless. Kaguya Otsutsuki, Zeus muttered in absolute horror. Now, the other children of Zeus also recognized her as well and was looking at the mist in shock. Father, who is she? Athena asked with a worrying tone. She had never seen the look of shock and horror on her father, his wife and the other older gods and goddesses' face like that. Kaguya Otsutsuki, the first human who ever became a primordial by eating the fruit of world tree, and she became the primordial goddess of rabbit, standing at the equal ground as the other primordial gods and goddesses. Poseidon informed them, making all widened their eyes in shock. Even the fighting-loving war god like Ares. However, since she was not originally an immortal being herself, Kaguya Otsutsuki had grown despotic and developed both a god complex and messiah complex. More or less she became mad with power. But father, how come we never heard of her? Athena asked, surely someone with that much power will. Exactly as I though. Because she is not from this dimension. Hades spoke up with a dark tone. All question then disappeared from the Olympian's mind when suddenly a flash of light appeared next to Kaguya. With energy like claws formed around their hands. The person used it to cut away one of the goddess of rabbit's hand. He was the coolest guy. The person shouted before disappearing again in a flash of light, so fast that even the fastest god Hermes couldn't be able to follow him. That's. Hera looked at Helper, who only nodded. Zeus. Hera called out for her father in absolute shock. That technique just now looked exactly like. Hirishin, the lighting god muttered, but only his wife could hear him. What is Hirishin, Zeus? Hermes asked. Zeus smirked and smugly said. It's technique that allow my mortal self to teleport to distant distance. I was moved by a special seal on Konoha. I was faster than you, Hermes. My enemy only see is yellow flash. I killed battalion in 9 minutes. Hermes frowned. If on these world humans fast enough to keep in toes with him, then he can say by his title fastest man, or in his case god. Hera pouted, beat my record for 1 minute before my 10 minutes, no fair. It was Hirishin or something akin to that. Zeus could recognize the way it anywhere. The person then reappeared behind Kaguya and delivered a roundhouse kick to her back, sending her flying before pulling out 2 black sticks from the black orbs levitating behind his back, throwing it toward the limp arm of Kaguya on the ground, stabbing through it like he was doing it to keep that arm immobile. They finally got a glimpse of the mortal who was fighting Kaguya head-on, which made Zeus and Hera gasped in total shock. Hera silently cried when she read what does he look like and looked at Helper pleadingly to show him. Helper nodded and all in room looked at child of Zeus and Hera. He looked like a mix of his parents. Zeus and Hera smiled at sight of their grown child. Their perfect child. Aphrodite licked her lips, already planning a welcome plan where she tries seduce him. Artemis scoffed and looked away. Helper then kept image in 2 minutes and let it disappear. Hera thankfully nodded at him and kept reading. The person bared a striking resemblance to Zeus' once human disguise with blonde and spiky hair. However, his eyes was orange instead of brilliant blue and greatly resemble a cross at his pupils. However, his face was almost like Kushina Uzumaki, Hera's human body with 3 black lines on each cheeks. He was wearing what looked like a yellow, energy coat with a black bodysuit underneath. The bodysuit covered his torso, reaching down his arms to his knuckles, and down his legs to the point just above his sandals. He also had a pattern of 6 magatama around his collar. Sasuke, out of the way. It seemed that he wasn't the only one who was fighting her, as there was another boy who covered his entire body in a thick, purple-like energy in the shape of a gigantic warrior samurai with wings. Quick, Naruto! The black-haired boy shot himself out of the gigantic warrior and shouted. Naruto! It can't be. It is impossible. Hera shouted with tears leaking down her cheeks. She was outright crying right now. The only persons who would name their child with the name of a ramen topping, which coming from a book of Minato's sensei would be her and her husband. Yosh, let's do this guy. He shouted before in 9 puffs of smoke. 8 identified clones of himself appeared on thin air, circling around Kaguya with each holding a different kind of energy orb above them. But all 9 had the same wings of energy which greatly resembled the shurikens. He completed. Rasengan. Zeus smiled in pride at his joy. You did where I can't. Wow. Apollo and Hermes' wolf whistle is the sight of the technique, while Ares was grinning madly because of the incredible thrill fight. Who is this guy? It is like watching Hollywood action, supernatural movies here. Agreed. Both Hermes and Apollo said before Artemis and Athena silenced with kick and punch. The Rasengan. Zeus sat back down his throne heavily. He completed it. Senpo. Cho Biju Rasen Shuriken. They shouted and threw all 9 Rasen Shuriken at the goddess of Rabbit at once, creating a massive explosion that sent her flying. Incredible, Athena said in amazement. Are you sure he is human? There is nothing about what we just saw human. He is more than just human. Poseidon spoke up again. I guess he is a shinobi, but I have never seen one this powerful since millennium ago. Shinobi? Shut your mouth, owlhead. This is getting good. Ares cried out loudly when another gigantic warrior appeared. From within was a man with silver hair and a mask covered the lower half of his face. By the way, what happened to him? All of them looked at Ares only find his empty throne, and all of them looked at Helper who smiled while rubbing his neck. I decide that he should not read with us. So I send him somewhere where he will not bored. In the end Helper smiled evilly and chuckled like a villain. Male gods felt a shiver and almost pitied Ares. Keyword, almost, while younger and 1 elder goddesses felt that they should be celebrating. Somewhere where Helper ditched. Send Ares. Evil me smiley face. Ares running while screaming like a schoolgirl. You want to know why? First Helper take away his power. 2 Ares landed an island. 3 he was turned into pansy and weak looking guy. And finally 4 he was chased by gays who wanted him to be raped for rest of his eternal life. I'm truly evil. Boogaga gaga. Fear me you little shit. Think first before giving me a obsence gesture. Now you will be raped by tribe gay followers before others end readng book. Zeus. Do you think it is him? Hera turned to her husband and asked at him with the most hopeful tone. Do you think he is our Naruto? Possible, but why did Hiruzen told us he was dead? Zeus asked, his hand holding the master bolt dangerously. If he is truly our son, Hiruzen got a lot to explain, and if Zeus think like that too. Helper sighed. Of course Zeus will think like that. But it was no Hiruzen choice. It's what fates who decided that. Oh well, Naruto will break any destiny only to keep safe his family. That is not the case now, Zeus. Our son is fighting against a primordial being. She shouted in his mind, just in case anyone heard the conversation between them. We got to help him. He could be killed. She was about to stand up when Zeus suddenly put a hand on her shoulder, stopping her. Don't, Hera. Remember our oath, he said. It would only bring bad luck to Naruto, and that will be the last thing he needs at the moment. To hell with promise. My child fighting against Kaguya. That Kaguya who have a power to create alternative dimension and have power to be on par with Gaia in her full power. Younger's gods and goddesses shocked at how powerful was that woman. But he is in danger, Minato. She nearly cried out with her own voice. Why can we just go there and help him? What do you suggest what we should do now? For now, we can only stay here and watch. Hope that the fates are with us this time, was only his reply before Zeus turned back to the iris mist. Hera bit her upper lips and sat down to her throne. Her eyes were the same as her husband, filled with worry, yet they both hide it rather well. The fight soon turned out quite well for Naruto and his team, as they successfully sealed away Kaguya and the giant monster with a rabbit appearance by some kind of power that gathered rocks on the ground to lock her inside a gigantic orb of earth, which then flew slowly to the sky and looks just like a small version of the moon. But what shocked them the most was 9 massive beasts resembled various animals with the tails increase from 1 to 9s was released from the inside of the heavenly rabbit, circling around Naruto's team. Thank chaos. They win. Hera calmed down. But what about Biju? Why they're not attacked him? Helper. Helper smiled because he befriended with all of them in one battle. That shocked elder Olympians. To befriend with Biju. The Biju who hated humankind. And one boy changed them so quickly. They did it? I can believe that they did it. Hera gasped before a beautiful smile made it to her face. Naruto. Son, Zeus whispered, he was never this proud in his immortal life. Then they saw the blonde called Naruto turned back to normal, revealing his normal feature as well as his brilliant azure blue eyes just like Zeus. Walking to the limp arm of Kaguya, which now all of the Olympians could see something dark with a face, sharp teeth and all inside of the sleeve. By the way, you didn't want to leave your mom, right? He asked with a slight smirk. What, mom? As if mother? Apollo was shocked. Artemis smirked. Hey, so your hottie isn't much hot for you now? Apollo only depressed more thinking how this creature was her son. It should not impossible. Why, you. The dark being muttered in shock. You have been hiding in the shadow all this time, but I noticed you. He reached his hands out and grabbed the arm. You're just a part of the shinobi's history I created so far. You're just a brat, you can't. Naruto's eyes hardened before saying. The shinobi's history was made by the lives of many ninja and their deaths. He then gripped his hand before pulling the arm off the ground and threw it toward the forming moon. A brat who can't even leave his mother's side. Won't ever understand a thing about it. He roared. That is very wise words for such a young boy. Athena nodded her head. That is very wise words for such a young boy. Athena nodded her head. Athena blushed while other laughed or chuckled. The most who laughed was Poseidon, who held his stomach. Not need to repeat yourself, Athena. You only ashamed yourself. Athena only growled at her rival. Shinobi? Ninja? Father, you have a lot to explain, she said after the 4 people and 9 beasts disappeared in flashes of light. The goddess of rainbow then made the mist disappeared, leaving the Olympians alone to discuss things among themselves. Line break. Hera, wait, you can't do it. Zeus called as he followed his wife into the palace they shared together. The queen of the gods was in a hurry, taking every weapons and put on the armors she hadn't wore in a very long time. I'm going there, Hera said with a firm tone, stripping of the stunning dress she was wearing to put on a golden shirt, following by lightweight breastplate. And you can't change my mind, Zeus, not in the slightest. That's right, you can't change my mind, Zeus. After we read, I will go to elemental country to help my son. Helper then said, no you won't. And why is that? Hera looked angrily at him. He only pointed book as if saying, read and you will know. I know that you're worried for Naruto, but we just can't stomp into his world and say we're his parent just like that. Especially when you're intent to take him with you when you return. Zeus frowned. Remember our oath, Mira. Screw the oath. Thunder rumbled outside. I don't care the consequence. I will go there and take my baby boy back with me, but again, before she could teleport away, Zeus wrapped his arms around her to stop his wife. I'm worried too, Kushina, he said with a surprised soft tone for an almighty king of the god, using the name he called her while their adventure at Elemental Nations. But you have to think about his well-being first. You came there, and Styx will serve her punishment on our son because we break our oath. Do you really want that? Hera frowned but calmed down knowing her husband right. But her bottom lips, dropping the celestial bronze knife in her hands. What are we going to do now, Minato? I can't leave him there. 17 years without one of our sons was already too much for me, especially Naruto. Then, what are you going to do about it? Hera asked, turning around to face her husband. I'm going to ask one of my children, one of the Olympians, to come and get him. Zeus stopped himself before he could mention his other children with different women. Anger Hera now would be the last thing he want. Maybe Athena or Artemis, because they are the most suitable for the job. Hera looked at Zeus with intense glare for remind of his cheating. Zeus in his turn glared at Book for reveling his thought. It wasn't like Hera got anything to say to change her husband's mind. His decision was final, and Hera too was afraid of the punishment Styx would put on their son if one of them break the oath they both swore 17 years ago. Then they better bring him here unharmed. Hera's eyes then turned cold. What about the people that lied to us? Why did Hiruzen, one of the only people Minato could trust and reveal their true identities to, lied to them about their son's death? I will think about it, Zeus said, but when I finally got my hand on him, or anyone who related to this matter, they better have a good explanation to us. Or else I swear on the Styx they will pay for taking the rightful prince of Olympus from us. Why do we hear again? Artemis, the goddess of the moon and hunt, asked with a rather annoyed tone. looking around the throne room to ask for the answer she rightfully deserved. This morning, when she was about to wake her hunters up and start a new day of hunting, maybe turning a few males into jackalope just for the fun of it, Hestia looked at Artemis with frown on her face and scolded her, "Artemis, why do you think turning those poor boys into animal? All of them defiantly have a family who is worried sick." Hera nodded and glared at Artemis. "I agree with my sister. Their mothers especially worried to death about missing their sons. What if their preteen and teen sisters will be next year hunters? What if they found out that you turn males into animal and will try to kill you? Will you kill the girls because of your stupid hatred towards all of the male world?" Artemis was hurt, not because of her favorite aunt's words but Hera's words about killing the girls who tried to avenge their brothers. Was she doing right? What if the male, that turned into animal, she hunted was brother of one of her hunters? Hestia sighed and continued. However, the proud auburn hair goddess could only see Ares and Aphrodite making out with each other on the former's throne, roaming their hands on each other's body like it was the last thing they could touch, literally having with each other with their clothes still on while in the public like this. All of Artemis though disappeared after hearing about how Aphrodite doing something lewd and looked at her with scowl. She sometimes pitied her, and Aphrodite only scoffed. It disgusted her to no end. Artemis wanted nothing more than launched a knife or maybe an arrow to the place where her brother's chariot couldn't reach, more or less to both of them. Aphrodite's supposed husband, Hephaestus, who was tickling with the machine on his lap, was outright ignoring them, like they was just the morning sunlight he had to see every day. Really, she pitied him, but women like Aphrodite was the cause why men looked down on the rest of the women population. Aphrodite was surprised and looked at Artemis, who huffed and turned her glance away of her. Dionysus was reading a wine magazine while drinking from a Coke of can. It looked like he was still affected by their father's punishment on him. All of Olympians looked at him and sweat dropped seeing that he's still sleeping. Demeter was ranting about cereal again, and the only Olympian who patient enough to sit down and hear her out was Aunt Hestia, her most favorite goddess. Her childish brother was talking with Hermes about the women they met in their immortal life, which disgusted her to no end. Artemis just grunted in disappointed. Poseidon was minding his own business, maybe thinking about Atlantic and his people. Surprisingly, Hades was also present here with them and was sitting on his usual spot, closing his eyes and thinking about what for all she cared. She didn't hate Hades or she hated him either, it was just that his presence here other than winter solstice, in an emergency meeting, wouldn't be something good. Hades looked at Hunter and shrugged before listening his sister reading. The only Olympian she was comfortable with was Athena, since the both of them share many things in common, but currently the goddess of wisdom was reading a book she took from the Library of Gods, which definitely about elemental nations. Athena only nodded. She will defiantly ask his father about that dimension. It would be a lie if Artemis refused to accept that she didn't have any interest in the place. Based on Zeus' words, the book Athena was holding was one of the many books written about elemental nations, belonged to Hera herself. It seemed the couple visited the dimension before and brought back with them a few books about the world, to prepare for the day they informed the council about said dimension. "Hey Artie, enough with the Artie." Apollo's face was paled as a ghost when a knife was thrown at him faster than his eyes could see. Fortunately Poseidon saw it and used his water power to stop the knife before it could make a contact with the sun god's face. "How about Alice?" With a grin Artemis twirled his hunter knife around her fingers. "No sis. I like being man so thank you but no." A fearful Apollo answered his scary sister. "Well Artemis, try not to murder your brother next time," Poseidon said with an amused chuckle, making the tentacle of water carry the hunting knife back to Artemis. "Thanks for save Uncle P," said relieved Apollo. "What do you want, Apollo?" Artemis asked, taking back her knife and strapped it to her waist again. "Do you know why we are all here again?" "How should I know? And why do you think that I know?" "Well, you're always Pop favorite, so I thought he has a reason for calling us here." "So true," Dionysus said. Artemis only glared at him and scoffed. "Like you, I got better thing to do." She thought about her hunters. Her Lieutenant Zoe would keep everything in place for her, but what if monsters attacked them? Maybe it was too paranoid of her to think something like that, but years of hunting with the hunt Artemis had come to realize maybe a little paranoid would prevent heartbreaking lost from within her girls. Maybe with years and years like this she would soon turn out just like Zeus. "Bah, a female Zeus? Oh that rich," Poseidon laughed at them. Zeus and Artemis only growled. Speaking out the king of God, the royal couple of Olympus appeared in the middle of the throne room in a lightning bolt, struck down to the ground in front of them, and front there Zeus and Hera stepped out. The queen looked a little distraught. Her perfect beauty that could even rival Aphrodite herself was totally ruined with blood spots underneath her eyes. Her hair was a mess and her white dress was messy and taken carelessly. Whoa, I don't know what to say anymore. Aphrodite got back to her throne and fixed herself, looking at the Queen of God with pitiful eyes. You're a mess, Hera. But the usual short temple goddess didn't reply or said anything. Instead, she walked to her throne and sat down, lowering her hair and face. She had a nightmare last night, about the day Kyuubi killed her and Zeus' human body, but instead of Minato and Kushina, it was her and Zeus taking their place in order to save their son Naruto. Zeus and Hera shivered, remembering when their mortal self died. It was just dream, yet so real. Ahem. I will start the meeting them. Zeus spoke loudly with his usual booming and powerful tone after clearing his throat. It's about the boy we see last night, the boy named Naruto. What about him? Ares spoke up without thinking. Why do we have to be here for just a blondie with ridiculous whisker cheeks? Because Ares, he is, for once, the prideful king of gods, was lost for words. He couldn't just state Naruto is his son just like Ares. Because he is your little brother, you damn warmonger. Hera roared, making Ares and the rest of the council flinched under her sudden outbreak. Damn, not again. Apollo groaned, just like any other male gods around the room. Brother. Poseidon stood up with his trident radiating with power. You broke the oath twice? His voice was so angry that one could imagine a storm causing chaos on top of a peaceful ocean. Explain yourself? Not another demigod, Hades groaned. But he was also angry, very angry. Do you have any words before I tell the monsters to hunt him down? The whole council broke out in argument. Try that, Hades, and nothing will stop me or Hera to kill you with bare hands. Zeus threatened him and Hera nodded in agree. Hades only rolled his eyes. Some said that the boy looked older than 16 years old already, so he wouldn't involve in the great prophecy by any chance, while the others, mainly Ares, said that Naruto was too much of a threat for his power, which rival a primordial being himself, so he would need to disappear before he became a threat to Olympus. Zeus was quite surprised by this sudden argument because normally, he would be the one shouting about one being a dangerous threat to Olympus. What I said, Zeus defiantly shouted about that. Poseidon, thinking about how much his brother paranoid, decided that it was enough. The king of gods raised his master bolt and was about to silence the whole council when Hera suddenly grabbed his weapon and shot a massive lightning bolt to the middle of the throne room, completely silent everyone. Be silent all of you. She roared, Naruto's not just Zeus' son, he's also my son. The youngest son of mine and your king's. He is the rightful prince of Olympus. She declared loudly, making all of the Olympians, save for Hestia, drop their mouth to the ground in shock, their eyes as wide as dinner plates. Can you blame us? You too have a mortal son, scoffed Hades, which he got a glare from king and queen. Hera, sit down. Zeus put a hand on his wife's shoulder and said with a surprisingly soft tone, making her calm down a bit. Taking back his master bolt, Zeus looked around the council to have a good look at the face of the Olympians, most of whom his children through lot of affairs. He then stopped at Hera before nodding his head. Receiving an approval nod from his wife, the king of the gods began to tell them about the story of elemental nations. From the day Kaguya ate the fruit of world tree, originally the Jubi, whose power was far more terrifying than anything they could imagine, and became the primordial goddess of rabbit, then she gave birth to 2 sons. One of them later became the founded of ninjutsu, which led to the creation of ninja world, to the great wars between ninja. The first, then second and then third before villages was found by uniting clans of ninja together. Then he got to his journey with Hera there with the help of the Fate and Hecate. It took Artemis and Athena to calm the goddess of love down when he got to the romantic part. Even though the king of gods thought it was no need to tell them how he charmed Hera's human counterpart Kushina, Zeus still believed it was necessary for them about Naruto's born. And that was a good choice. You two became a really family more than before. Helper though. The rest of the story was very hard for him to tell, because it was something he wished he didn't have to mention again. He thought he lost a great son that night, but turned out that he was still alive and well, archived many things that not even the greatest hero of their world, Hercules, could. In the end, no one dared to say a word, not even Ares. Artemis was shocked, totally shocked. She couldn't imagine the royal couple of Mount Olympus not only acting but actually be humans and gave birth to a son together at elemental nations. The child, while wasn't an immortal god definitely, had clearly shown the power that he should be a god in the first place. Artemis still knew very little about the power of these shinobi, but she was sure that kind of power couldn't be found on someone else. And Prince? Why would they call him Prince? While he might be the youngest and all of Zeus and Hera's son were abnormal, wouldn't that make him another abnormal? After all, prince or not, he is male. You're going at thin ice, Artemis. Try hurt my son and I will curse you and your hunters for eternally. Threatened Hera to Artemis, the later only turned away and though about stupid book revealing her private thinking. It would be much easier to show you our memories, but it will take a lot of times to watch, Zeus continued, announcing loudly. Now we get back to the reason I call you here. As we already swore to the Styx to never return to elemental nations, we can't go back to the place anymore. Both Hera and I had agreed that we should have at least one Olympians go to that world to bring Naruto to his rightful place, here at Olympus. Let me go, father. Ares jumped in instantly, thinking about the opportunity to fight Naruto far sooner than he planned. I will bring little bro back to Olympus. He finished with a bloodthirsty grin. It was clear for the other Olympians about Ares' intention. He clearly didn't care much about the fact that Naruto is his younger brother. As if I'm going to let you bring Naruto here, you foolish son of mine? Hera growled at Ares. No, let me go. Artemis didn't know if she should feel surprise or not when Aphrodite raised her hand and squealed with a high-pitched tone. I'm sure I am the one most suitable to bring our smoking prince here. Maybe Aphrodite actually cared about bringing Naruto here, but with a different reason. Of course I care, you stupid deer sniffer. It's our prince and he should know us, especially me. Aphrodite said with scowl. I'm glad that there are so many volunteers, Ares said blankly, not impressed in the slightest when those two were the first to volunteer themselves for the job. He had seen it coming even before the meeting, but last night, we had decided the most suitable ones for this mission. Perfect, Artemis thought to herself. It looks like the meeting is going to end soon, she could finally. Athena and Artemis, please come forward. What? Was all Artemis could say. What? Was all Artemis could say when her father called for her name. After that, Artemis tried to suppress her blush on her face while others tried to hide or openly laugh at her. Fair enough. The goddess of wisdom nodded her head, closing the book on her lap and stood up from her seat. Athena already figured it out why her father chose her and Artemis. Plus, this would be a great opportunity for her to go investigating elemental nations with her own eyes. But, father, why? Artemis asked, shocked. Her father couldn't just force her to abandon her hunt to go search for a boy at a totally different dimension like that. Artemis, you have the best tracking skills. Finding Naruto won't be too much of a trouble for you, while Athena is currently the Olympians has the most knowledge about elemental nations other than the elder gods, so you two are the most suitable ones for this mission. Excuse me father, but I don't think I will. My decision is final, Artemis. Zeus cut in with a dead serious tone. If you're worried about your hunters, bring them with you. You and Athena should go prepare as quick as possible. If there is nothing more to ask, council dismiss. The Olympians all stood up and flashed away, save for the royal couple of Olympus, Athena and Artemis. I will go prepare. I will meet with you later, sister, Athena told Artemis before flashing away as well after receiving a forced nod from the immortal huntress. Artemis was about to stand up and reason with her father again, when suddenly Hera walked up to her and shockingly kneed down in front of Artemis, taking Artemis' hands into hers. Hera looked embarrassment, but she know why she do that. Demeter said, oh my. Hera, you truly going to beg her? In answer, Hera only nodded. Please Artemis. Please bring my Naruto back to me, Hera said with a shaky tone, making Artemis widen her eyes. She had never seen the Queen of Gods like this. Please, I beg you. He is everything to me. She never liked Hera in the first place. She was the one who caused Artemis' mother so much trouble during childbirth, forcing her mother to go through all to give birth to her and Apollo. But, the woman who was kneeling in front of her, after all she was still a mother. Hera looked surprised, and to shock everyone she smiled at Artemis. Well, not that good of a mother when Artemis thought about how Hera treated her sons these past years, but at least she cared deeply about her daughters, and that alone was good enough for Artemis. Her hand then tightened around Hera's hands as she stared into Hera's brown eyes. I will bring your son back, she nodded her head. I promise to you that, she didn't have to promise to the sticks to let Hera know that her words is final. That she will bring Naruto Uzumaki to Olympus, back to his parents. Line break. Naruto put on his black attire, standing in front of the mirror with sad eyes. A day had passed since the end of the Fourth Great Shinobi War. Villages were burying their lost with grief. Thousands of shinobi had been killed during the war. Some Naruto knew while he didn't even know their name before their corpse was brought back to their villages. Everyone was there during the funerals, even Sasuke. They sacrificed their life to protect him as well as the entire world. Neji Hyuga, Naruto stood behind Hinata and remained silent. He didn't know what to say or do. He just stood there with a bunch of flowers in hands. Each flower was for each shinobi of Konoha who fell down at the battlefield. Athena was impressed. Even when he don't know personally with other soldiers, he still want to respect them by giving them a funeral like others. She know people like him become a great leader. A new day had started. What? You can't do it, Datbeo. Naruto shouted with his hand holding his head. Well, he would have both of his hands holding his head if he didn't have his right hands missing from his body. What? Zeus and Hera shouted in unison, shocked that their son missing his arm. How did that happen? Helper decided to answer their question. He lost his arm at fight between his best friend Uchiha Sasuke, who decided to kill Gokage while Kage's was under Genjutsu. Shut up, brat. Tsunade Senju shouted as she looked at him. My decision is final. Kakashi Hitaki will be the Rokudame Hokage of the Konoha. Tsunade? Why she is in Konoha? I thought that she swear not going back to village? Hera surprised by one of relative appearing. Helper chuckled and said, she come back because only one candidate was left aside, Danzo. Your son convinced her to come back. But why not me? He groaned. Standing next to him was Kakashi, who was giving Naruto his trademark eyes smile, trying to calm the hero of the shinobi war down with both hands in front of him. I thought after the war. Yes, you're more suitable to become a Hokage than anyone in this village, Naruto. Tsunade stood up and walked to him. But you're still way too young to handle that job and the responsibility behind it. You can try to become the next Hokage later, but currently the village needs someone like Kakashi as a leader, so I make him my next successor. Tsunade then pulled out a bottle of sake from out of nowhere, shocking Shizune, who had made sure to throw all of them away. Now, let's just go to have a drink to celebrate the day I finally escaped from this job. She wrapped her arms around Naruto's neck and pulled him out of the room. Wait, Ba-chan. Wait, Naruto cried out when he was being pulled by a 50-years-old woman who got an unimaginable amount of strength. Trying to shrug out of her grip would be a total waste of time. He gave up and let the Hokage pull him out the street. As soon as the village saw their hero, the entire street cheered out loudly and clapped their hands rapidly for Naruto. Naruto was stunned by the sudden action of the villagers. We proud of you, Naruto. You become a hero of your village more than your father. Hera smiled with tears. Well, while you won't be the Hokage this time, Naruto. Tsunade released him from her grip and smiled at her favorite blonde. But isn't this what you want? Looking around, Naruto found the same feeling he had after Kakashi brought him back to the village after defeating Pain and confronting Nagato. They called him their hero, thanking him for his service during the war and for saving the world. A large grin spread out on Naruto's face while he walked between the people of Konoha. Maybe he shouldn't move with ninja speed any longer on the roofs to get to the Hokage office anymore and start to take a walk among these people. Because they finally acknowledged him as their hero. Line break. Come on, drink, Naruto. Naruto tried to push the bottle of sake Tsunade was giving him away from his mouth. 2 o'clock in the afternoon and he was already forced to drink the 7th bottle. What? You old hag, don't you try to get my son drunk or addicted. If you do, I will personally torture you to death. That promise of lifetime dattebane, Hera shouted and stopped after she said her trademark work as Kushina. Other looked at her and began laughing at her. But it was quickly silenced by her hair going up and took form as foxtails and her eyes shadowed by hair, only red glowing eyes seeing. They weren't the only one in the restaurant because the rest of the Rookie 9 were here as well as Team Guy and their sensei. Even Sasuke was present and sat alone at the last table at the corner of the place. It was like a whole celebration party. Choji was screaming to Lee about eating his last piece of barbecue, but instantly lightened up when Ino brought a brand new dish of barbecue for him. Sai surprisingly was getting very familiar with the blonde hair Kunoichi. sitting next to her with a very, real, smile, and hopefully he was not going to speak out anything that make Ino mad. Sakura was chatting with her sensei while keeping on glancing at Sasuke, wondering that she should come and keep him company. Oh great, another maiden in love. Sadly thought Artemis. Oh lol, someone have a huge crush on that Sasuke boy. Aphrodite giggled at puppy-like love. Naruto, after drinking the bottle Tsunade gave him, stood up from his seat and walked to Sasuke. Kurama would keep his body in check so he don't have worry about alcohol. Sasuke, can I sit here? He asked, sitting down the seat opposite of the former missing nin. How's your arm? He asked after having a nod of approval from black-haired Uchiha. The same as your, Sasuke replied shortly. So the Makoto boy lost his arm too? Hera thought. Well, Ba-chan said she is making prosthetic hands for us, Naruto nodded. From the Shodem cells I think, so you don't have to worry about not being able to make hand seals anymore. Wow, they have a prosthetic arms that creating with man cells? Okay, now I want to go and ask about how they making arms. Apollo was officially shocked. Others too surprised by that. If god of medicine saying that, then shinobi world more developed than their world. I don't think I'm going to stay in this village for long, Sasuke said, surprised Naruto. Hey, don't tell me you're thinking about becoming a missing nin again. He turned his head to Sakura and said with a small smile. There are people who will be hurt if you leave again, you know. What about you, Naruto? What are you going to do now? The both of them turned their head to the Hokage monument, where a face was being craved onto it next to Tsunade's by a lot of worker. It was Kakashi's face, the Rokudame Hokage. I think I'm going to train harder, as well as work harder to become the next Hokage, Naruto said with a determined expression on his face. Improve my strength and everything else. Good for you. Sasuke picked up a cup of sake and held it high, so dobi, for the Nanaidem Hokage. For the Nanaidem Hokage, Teme, Naruto also poured his cup full and touched it with Sasuke's. Meanwhile at Training Ground 44, the Forest of Death. Animals suddenly parted away when they felt an abnormal change in the air. An orb of electricity suddenly appeared from thin air and got bigger and bigger until it was the size of a small house. Blue lightning cracked from the surface as the energy growing larger and larger, tearing away the large trees around it. Then, 3 young women appeared from within and touched their feet down the forest ground gratefully. At the same time the lightning orb disappeared. The first was an extremely beautiful woman, being tall and well built, with auburn hair gathered back in a ponytail, cold and bright eyes as silvery yellow as the winter moon. She was wearing white shirts, silver jackets, silvery camo pants and black combat boots. The woman also carrying a magic bow and arrows, with 2 hunting knives strapped to her waist. The one who was wearing a normal clothes at her left was another very beautiful woman, with long black hair and intense gray eyes. She was looking around the forest with interest eyes. The last young woman who was wearing the same state of clothing as the auburn-haired girl was a tall, graceful, and gorgeously beautiful young woman with dark brown eyes, a slightly upturned nose, copper-colored skin, and the silver circlet braided into the top of her long dark hair gave her the impression of a Persian princess. You brought your lieutenant? Athena asked. Artemis shrugged and said, why not? She is most of experienced hunter. This place. Amazing, Athena said as she delaminating the gigantic tree. Such nature, Zoe, the lieutenant of Artemis Hunt said in amazement. This place is amazing. She inhaled deeply, the air was fresh. The best air she ever breathed in. While the Hunt was staying at her palace at Camp Half-Blood, much to their shock and disappointment as well as disgust, Athena decided that it was best taking one more huntress with her, just in case they couldn't find Naruto where he should be, so Artemis decided to bring Zoe, her closest and best huntress, with them. Artemis was lost for words. She could feel a very powerful force of nature at this place from this forest alone, and it was as powerful as Earth's nature before mortal invent machines that slowly pollute the environment. Well, Hashirama-sama created that forest with his own energy. No wonder that after many years the forest become more. Zeus said, perking Demeter interest. Mortal who can create such a forest always in her good list. Maybe going to that world is not such a bad idea. Artemis thought. So, how do we get out of here? Artemis asked. Why can Father teleport us directly to this Konoha place? This is the Forest of Death, Training Ground 44 of Konoha, Athena informed before walking ahead of them. Snapping her fingers, she brought out a map of Konoha, which her father sent it to her this morning. We go this way to get to the village before heading to Father and Hare's old home, hoping that Naruto Uzumaki is there. Lady Artemis, the boy we are searching for. Don't ask anything, Zoe, let's get this over with. The goddesses and huntress walked in silent for the rest of the journey out of the forest of death. During the walk, they had an unpleasant encounter with a giant centipede, but it was taken down by Artemis and Zoe before it could do anything. They also had met with a lot of other gigantic creatures such as tigers, leeks and even various kind of birds. Artemis, as a goddess of nature, quickly befriended them. Clearly these creatures were far more friendly than that centipede. When the village came into view, Athena stopped them and spoke up. Be careful when you go into the village. Our world is much more advanced than elemental nations. Artemis and Zoe nodded their head. I know that you two are more than capable of taking care of yourselves. But we must try to stay away from trouble as much as possible, especially unwanted encounter with the shinobi. Some of them can do feats that even the strongest demigods could not hope to compare. As soon as they stepped into the village, the group of goddesses and huntress got a lot of attention from the villager because it wasn't every day they got women as beautiful as they are walking in the village. However, as soon as the first male leered at them with lustful eyes, he was sent running because of Artemis' killing intent and murderous eyes, which was far more terrifying than anything he had seen in his life. Soon a lot of males followed his example and none of them dared to approach the group, as Zoe was twitching her hunting knife in her hands dangerously. Perverts everywhere, sis, Apollo said. So idiots too. Why you keep multiplying? In rhetorical question asked Artemis. Apollo gained hurt look and pouted. Why's she so mean? However, what they didn't know was that Zeus totally forgot to mention them about the downside of entering the village without being detected by the barrier around the village. We got company, Zoe and Artemis said at the same time. Before any of them could take one more step toward the Namikaze mansion, a ninja wearing a bird mask suddenly appeared in front of them and two more appeared behind them, wearing an attire consisted of black clothing, a gray flak jacket, metal arm guards and gloves, ninja sandals with spike, 3 ninja pouches on their back waist, a signature spiral tattoo on their shoulder and sword on their back. Hey, not impressed? Artemis arrogantly said, only be flinched by her father look. Don't be arrogant, Artemis. This is elite ninja who trained to kill and protect more than normal shinobi. The 3 immortal beings could instantly see that these ninja were on guard. Their stance hid it rather well, but years of battle and training told them they shouldn't take these shinobi lightly. Who are you and what is your intention? The bird mask Anbu asked. The barrier team didn't inform them about any unauthorized passages, and yet he saw 3 strangers walking casually on the street of Konoha. He gathered 2 nearest Anbu and jumped down to face them while one already went to inform the Hokage. Whoever they were, entering the village by sneaking in without going through the main gate wasn't something he could brush off easily. We're here with goodwill, Athena spoke up with a perfectly calm tone. She was the only one out of the 3 could communicate with the people of elemental nations in their language, because Artemis refused to learn after finding out their language was just like Japanese, Apollo's currently most favorite language. She didn't want to learn because she didn't want to understand what her brother usually ranting about in Japanese. My name is Athena and this is Artemis and Zoe Nightshade. Telling the truth was the only option she got for avoiding unwanted fight. We're friends of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, your Yondaime Hokage and his wife. The Anbu captain's eyes widened behind his mask. He didn't detect any lie in the words of the woman named Athena, but she said they were friends of their Yondaime Hokage and his wife, which was pretty hard to believe. While these women weren't appeared to be kunoichi from any villages, he couldn't risk lowering down his guard, especially when 2 of them looked like a well-trained warrior, carrying bow and arrows as well as the biggest kind of hunting knife he ever saw. The samurai couldn't use chakra, but they are more than capable of putting a good fight. Even after the war the villages had united with each other. There were chances that Akatsuki's remnants were still there. The Hokage will decide if you're speaking the truth or not, the Anbu captain said calmly, making Athena nodded her head. Please follow us. Oh right, Athena turned to the 2 eternal maidens. He wants us to come with him, I think, to their Hokage. Fair enough. Artemis nodded her head. She was getting more and more uncomfortable with the ways these males were looking at her, as she wanted nothing more than turned them into some kinds of animal before hunting them down. And please give us your weapons, Athena widened her eyes when the Anbu captain continued. What did he just say, Lady Athena? Like her mistress, she wanted to notch an arrow into her bow and shoot the male villagers to the place where the sun don't shine. They wanted us to give them your weapons. This was slowly getting out of control and the goddess of wisdom could feel it in the air. No way. Artemis shook her head before glaring at the Anbu captain. Her cold shiver eyes made him take a few steps back in nervousness. There is no way I'm going to give my weapons to these more. Artemis, this is just a precautionary measure. They will not harm or molest you, Zeus said while pinching his nose bridge. But she stopped when suddenly, her eyes caught a glint of yellow went past her on top of the house at her right. Time seemed to slow down around Artemis as she slowly turned her eyes to her right and widened slightly when she saw the blonde they were searching for jumping from roof in roof with the speed that matched even her best huntresses. Who could have thought it was this easy? This mission would end in no time. Artemis, wait, Athena called when suddenly the goddess of the hunt turned around and stomped her foot on the ground, launching herself so high onto the nearest roof that completely shocked the villagers as well as the Anbu. Honestly, Artemis, Athena murmured. Artemis only huffed that buffoon can match with the speed of her best huntress. Faster than a cheetah, Artemis chased after Naruto Uzumaki with the speed that made her nothing but a sliver blue. Moving on top of these roofs were very easy for her, so it didn't take her more than 10 seconds to catch up to the blonde shinobi, who at first was 2 home fleets away from her. Is that normal, father? Athena asked. Instead of Zeus, Hera answered, yes, this is normal for shinobi. They taught that in first genin training. Hey you, stop. Naruto turned his head around and widened his eyes when he saw the most beautiful woman he had ever seen in his life chasing after with incredible speed. However, Artemis completely forgot that she didn't know how to speak his language, so Artemis' demand wasn't understood by Naruto at all. Huh? He spoke up the most logical thing at the moment. Naruto Uzumaki, I order you to stop now. Naruto instantly stopped when he heard his name mentioned in her incomprehensible words. Seeing Naruto stop running, Artemis also stopped herself. Now the only thing that stopped her from her mission was the gap between the 2 story houses they were standing on. At first glance, Naruto looked just like how he was during the battle against Kaguya, with most of his injuries healed and a few bandages on his face and body. However, because the right sleeves of his shirt was flying freely on the wind, it didn't take Artemis long to realize his right arm was missing. Who are you? He asked. Now, it was Artemis' change to not be able to understand what he said. But she once heard Apollo ask one of her huntress name in Japanese before being sent away by said huntress and the rest of the hunt in a barrage of silver arrows before, so she got a basic idea of what he was asking. Artemis, she pointed to herself, rather annoyed that the blonde was making a confused face. Her name is Artemis? Or she is saying something in her language? Naruto asked himself. Artemis? Oh no, Kurama thought inside of Naruto's mindscape. The Nine-Tails Biju knew perfectly who was this auburn-haired woman from Naruto's mother. I know that sooner or later they will find out and send one of the Olympians here, but her? Wait, is that Kyuubi names? How can that Biju have name? Hera shouted. Helper only shrugged. Naruto? Kurama decided to speak up. I sagely advise you not to anger that woman in any way. Huh? Why? You know her, Kurama? Naruto asked, looking at the gigantic Nine-Tails fox in his mindscape. Her name is Artemis, right? Yes, her name is Artemis, but for now, you only need to know that she have problem with the opposite gender. Naruto paled instantly. A men hater. Naruto pointed to himself, Naruto Uzumaki, introducing himself with his trademark grin, even though he was nervous inside. The hunting knife she was carrying looked really big and her bow and arrows seemed to be extremely dangerous. I know who you are, she said sarcastically. Now don't make me come over there and force you back to your mother. Come over here, boy. She pointed to him before pointing the spot next to her, hoping that he would understand what she wanted. Sorry, but I don't understand what you're saying. He shook his head, thinking, maybe Ba-chan will know. She traveled a lot, did she? Naruto pushed Chakra to his feet and jumped over the opposite roof, landing gratefully in front of Artemis. Come on, let's go to Ba-chan. She will. He took her wrist, realizing that talking with her would be no use because just like him, she couldn't understand what he said. However, Naruto didn't realize he just made a grave mistake. Artemis widened her eyes before snapping her hand out of Naruto's grip, at the same time pulling her hunting knife out faster than Naruto could even see her hand move. heading toward his throat. Artemis, what do you think doing? Trying to kill my son. I'm going to fade you. Hera tried to get rid of her husband's grip to attack at the frightened young goddess. Without his right hand, Naruto had to move his body back to avoid the dangerous knife. Naruto didn't bring any weapons with him today, so blocking that sharp knife would be out of question. Shit, he cried. What the hell are you doing? I told you Naruto, she has problem with male, Kurama groaned. You didn't make the situation any better for me. Without one of his hand and the smallest piece of weapon with him, Naruto had no choice but. How dare you touch me? Artemis roared, this male just touched her. How dare he? She was the proud goddess of the moon and hunt. How could a boy, a son of Zeus and Hera no less just come and touch her casually like that? Artemis pulled out her other hunting knife and attacked him with both of her weapons. Hera didn't ask her to bring him back in one piece and unharmed. This would be his first warning for trying to touch her, to make sure that he would never dare to cross her again in the future whenever they meet at Olympus. However, she couldn't believe her eyes when Naruto suddenly raised his hand and broke one of her hunting knife before grabbing the last knife with his bare hand. Say what? How he can stop my attack with just hand? Now it's Artemis' turn to shouting. Zeus know what is going on, Senjutsu. You even mastered that in such a young age. You surpassed me in everything. Calm down, he said with a calm tone. Looking up, Artemis saw his eyes had changed to yellow toad-like eyes with orange pigmentation around his eyes. But what shocked her was the feeling of nature coming from him. It was like he had become one with nature. Such force of energy could only be felt from natural spirits such as nymphs or naiads, yet this young man in front of her was emitting the same kind, if not even more power natural energy than them. This lady and gentleman is Senjutsu. It's a old and dangerous art to borrow nature power. Only handful people can master that. Just like you're one of demigod, Pan. Olympians shocked. Such a young boy can truly become strong if he using that power. If he is going try use Gaia power then he can't be stopped. Who is this boy? Artemis, right? He asked. Hand was still gripping her knife? Hello? Artemis blinked once, then twice before realizing that she had spaced out the whole minute. Raising her legs she kicked his gut hard, sending Naruto flying with unimaginable force. Putting her hunting knife back to the sheath, Artemis took a bow and notched 3 arrows and just stopped for a millisecond to aim before shooting them with the speed faster than any ninja could throw their kunai or shuriken. Or should she say in her world's language, faster than a machine gun. Oh shit, Naruto cried out before using his leg to catch one of the arrow heading to his crotch, using his hand to catch another aim for his heart and his teeth to catch the last one aimed for his head. This woman was incredibly skilled with bow and arrows. To think that she could aim perfectly at all the weak points of his body while he was flying with neck-breaking speed. Artemis kept feeling Hera's death glare. Naruto quickly balanced himself on a roof and dashed his feet on the ground to look at Artemis, who was 15 yards away from him, but seeing her speed and the way she shot those arrows, he doubted this distance could keep him safe. Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, turned around and saw Athena came running at her with aegis in hand. What are you thinking? The black-haired goddess asked with a slight frustration in her tone. Now they are chasing after us. You see that boy over there? Artemis pointed her hand to Naruto. It's our little half-brother. Athena nodded her head. He was Naruto Uzumaki indeed. Care to explain he was over there with your arrows? Without the need to look, Athena raised her shield and blocked the incoming kunais and shurikens. Anbus were chasing after them and Zoe was just right a few houses behind them, shooting arrows at the masked shinobi, effectively slowing them down, but with the numbers behind her, the lieutenant of Artemis doubted that she has enough arrows to shoot. Athena told her to not kill them, so she only shot her arrows at the non-fatal points on the body, but because her opponents were the most skilled shinobi, they easily blocked the arrows with their swords and kunai. They are after Naruto, the captain shouted, quick, get them. 3 women just casually walked into their village without any permission and now was after their hero. Those women, while using weapons unlike any shinobi and hadn't used any ninjutsu yet, was skilled, very skilled, and knew what they were doing. Want to hurt Naruto in their village? Not on his watch. Mistress, Zoe called when she stopped in front of Artemis. The shinobi was coming near and she only had 10 arrows left. This will keep them away, Artemis said and called for her godly power. The Anbus stopped on their track when suddenly they heard the sound of 1,000 insects coming at their direction. Looking up, all Anbu widened their eyes in shock when a black cloud of thousands or even millions insects were coming straight at them from the forest outside of Konoha. The insects gathered around them, flying around the Anbu, making them cried out in shock. The hell? Naruto dropped his mouth in shock. She is an Aburame or something. The only ones Naruto knew who could control insects was Shino and his family, but control that kind of numbers was out of question. Is that insult? Artemis thought with anger. Helper and Zeus only sigh at her predictable thinking. His eyes then returned to the auburn-haired woman, now accompanied by two more, both of whom was as beautiful as the girl who attacked him, and the head on the bronze shield that black-haired woman was holding was enough to freak him out. Just perfect. Naruto turned around, dropping all the arrows to the ground, and started to run. I already got enough psychos after me. I really don't need 3 more. You can't run away from them, Naruto, Kurama said. One of them have the skills to track you down even you are halfway around the world. Running away from is pointless. Who said I'm going to run away? A smirk appeared on his face as he headed toward the nearest training ground. You want to fight them, are you, Naruto? Kurama chuckled when he realized Naruto's intention of heading to a wide area. Just let you know that 2 of them have enough power to level the entire village in a minute or so. You're kidding, right? Naruto laughed forcefully. Naruto, wait! He heard one of them shouted, but this time he could perfectly understand her. Stop, we need to talk. No, wait, he shouted back, pointing at Artemis. That woman is trying to kill me. There is no way I'm going to let her slice me in half. He shouted in a dramatic way. Yeah, I can clearly see who his father is, Athena sighed. His shouting face was ridiculous. He said he's not going to stop because you want to slice him in half. Zeus only frowned, pouted, and his brothers, not helping him, told him that he don't stop now, I will make him suffer more than just being sliced in half. Artemis gritted her teeth and pulled out another arrows, ready to put it through the blonde head. Calm down, Artemis, we're not here to kill him. Athena shook her head. What did he do to anger you anyway? He touched me. Zoe's eyes turned cold and she saw red when she heard her mistress' words. How dared he? Before Naruto could get to the training ground, an arrow flew past him, just missing his head for a few millimeters. Turning his head around to look, he saw the tiara-wearing girl suddenly launched herself forward even faster than the other 2. Oh shit. Her hunting knives were out and glinted dangerously in her hands. Guessed I have no choice then. Naruto turned his eyes to the front and was about to call for Kurama's power when suddenly. Naruto, we know your parent. Athena shouted. Naruto immediately stopped with his eyes widened. Normally, it wasn't that uncommon for people to know about his parent, who were very famous. But for some reason, he got a feeling that when these women said they knew his parent, they had a totally different ideas than the other. You are dead. Naruto turned around just in time to use his hand to block the hunting knife, but since he was in sage mode, the knife shattered underneath his rock-hard skin, making Zoe widen her eyes in shock. You know my parent? What do you mean when you said you know my parent? He asked, pushing Zoe back with his strength, making a safe distance between her and him. Athena got down next to the huntress of Artemis and put her shield away, looking at Naruto with her stormy gray eyes. With just the first look she could tell a lot about this boy. Clearly he was unlike any of his full-blood brothers, especially a warmonger like Ares. But she was wondering why one of his arms was missing. Naruto. The Anbu appeared, surrounding around the area and ready for the worst situation. Zoe instantly returned to her full battle mode, already having an arrow ready with her, the string of her bow pulling back. It's alright guys, Naruto held up his hand and said to reassure the Anbu captain and his team before turning back to Athena. Now, answer my question. Naruto, what do you know about your parent? Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki. They died, sacrificed their life to protect me, he said shortly, but enough to tell these women about his parent. The truth is, Naruto, your parent, they are still alive, Athena declared, shocking the entire area, and they sent us here to bring you back to them. End of chapter 2. After reading in the throne room was in complete unpleasant silence. Hera was glaring at both Artemis and Athena. Mostly she glared at Artemis, who attacked her son just because of touch when Naruto did not know about Greek gods and goddesses. Artemis avoided the Hera's glare, but in her mind she felt justified. No one of male pigs will not touch her, even her so-called half-brother. Zeus was disappointed by behavior of his daughters. Poseidon looked at his rival and simple spoke, "You're idiot. You can't go to the boy and tell him that his parents alive. You will ruin his image of his parents. Even for you to say so blunt. He will be defiantly think that his parents abandoned him there. Athena looked away with a gold blush on her cheeks and frowned. But even when she despised Poseidon she agreed. The boy is barely 18, and even if he went through a lot, it can break his mind. She hoped Naruto will listen her about third Hokage lied to his parents about his death. Hestia, seeing that situation is heating up, decided that she distract them all with a question to help her what happened to his arm and his friend's arm, and luckily it distracted all and gained their attention. Helper spoke, yes, about that. After sealing rabbit goddesses, Apollo let a chuckle before silenced by Artemis. You all know why he chuckled. Sasuke declared that he will bring a new era by killing a 5 Kage and sealing forever all of Biju. And Sasuke said the only man who can stop his revolution was Naruto, his last connection to his past. Naruto challenged him at the Valley of the End and fought with him. And I think that you will see that on TV. Hera and Zeus remembered that in chapter beginning Naruto lacked his right arm. They hoped that Naruto was not injured. TV watching. In the Valley of the End, Sasuke and Naruto fighting after sealing Kaguya, where Sasuke suddenly imprisoned tailed beasts with Chibaku Tensei and putting Sakura in Genjutsu and announced about his revolution plan where he will be only Kage and will rule Shinobi world. Naruto run with Sasuke to their place to fight. Naruto has obliged himself to save and bring back his friend. To save a bond between them. Finally I will see a real manly fight. Ares shouted before he was silenced by his mother Glare. TCH. All I need to do is erase you, and then no one will be able to stand in the way of my revolution. With that words Sasuke summoned his full form Susanoo and rushed with that to friend. Naruto meanwhile called the tailed beast Kurama mode. And 2 giant forms fist punched so hard that they are repelled. The first blow was struck by the sword of Sasuke, but Naruto blocked with his left hand. Then Sasuke attacked from above and again Naruto blocked with tails. After failed attack Sasuke jumped back and soared into sky. Naruto jumped after him, seeing that Sasuke summoned a sealed in meteors tailed beasts. The meteors rushed to him and stopped behind him. Sasuke began to drain their chakra to strengthen Susanoo. Holy order! That thing's as big as Typhon. Apollo shouted before he was kicked on the ribs by his sister and looked at her with betrayed eyes. I'm going to finish this with Susanoo. This will finish everything. No you won't. I'm going to stop you. Then Naruto in Kurama mode summoned 2 shadow clone and merged with them. The result appeared as 3-headed and 6-armed Kurama mode. I'm going to protect history, and all of our connections with our allies and everyone else. Including, Sasuke pulled an arrow coated in lighting chakra of tailed beasts. Meanwhile Naruto started to create on both hands Rasen Shuriken, one with his chakra and the other with tailed beast bomb. You, of course. He is really something sister. You have a wonderful child. These words said by Hestia trying to calm his sister, who Hera smiled but inside she was worried. With that both of them launched and fired their jutsu at each other. Their jutsu crashed and exploded in sky, thus blinding and injuring themselves because they were in affected area of their attack. After explode Naruto and Sasuke started to falling. Sasuke crashed hard on land and Naruto crashed in water. Sasuke coughed and forced himself to up, while Naruto sinking further into the water. Heh. Now, I'm all alone. Hey. What a pathetic brat. He even can't rise after being hit by so-called power technique. Ares began but was interrupted. You're really idiot Ares. This clashed technique enough to kill you in sealed form. Athena interrupted Ares' speech with rolled eyes. Shut up you owl, shouted enraged Ares, whose glasses began to melt. She is not wrong Ares. Even I reluctantly agree that he is stronger than me in this sealed form. Shut up you deer sniffer. All of you, just shut up. Let me watch Naruto's fighting. I hope he will be okay. Zeus decided they bicker too much and shouted at them. Artemis and Athena were shocked. Their father never shouted them. They felt disappointed themselves. Ares just scoffed and looked away like a spoiled child. Hera, Hephaestus and Poseidon smirking at them. Naruto began to lose consciousness when drowning. And he heard Obito's voice. Zeus was shocked. Obito was alive. He looked at Helper and demanded answers. Obito was alive? But why did he not come back? Helper sighed and answered. Because of the Rin's death and Madara manipulations. Because he thinks that he raised live an eternal illusion than reality. And it was him who released Kurama at that night. Zeus and Hera shocked. He was responsible for Kyuubi's attack and their mortal self-killing. What's wrong? Don't tell me you've given up already? Is it really that easy for you two to sever your connection? Obito's hand laid on his back and stopped the falling. It isn't, is it? Then second hand laid on his back. Then he heard Kakashi's voice. Just like Obito and me. Your connection with Sasuke can't be severed that easily. Remember, you don't just reconnect Kakashi and me. My heart was so hardened, yet you. And it wasn't just me. You opened up a lot of other people's hearts as well. Enemies. Obito again said. Naruto recalled Zabuza and Haku. People surrounded by hatred. He remembered after fight with Gaara. People who rejected the other villages. Granny Chu from Suna trying resurrect Gaara. People who were hurting inside. Nagato going to resurrect all of his villagers. Even the tailed beasts. When he and Kurama started fight against Obito together. You were even capable of solving the problems of the world itself. When he and allied shinobi force against Jubi. Now, there's only one person left. It should be easy for you to save a stubborn friend, right? Yeah, you'll be fine. Remember that you beat the encouragement of all those people on your shoulders. Kakashi said, the connection you've made with your teachers and your peers. The hopes of your friends. Then just 3 hands placed under the body of Naruto. Jiraiya, Nagato and Konan. And then another pair hands laid. Guy, Iruka-sensei, Captain Yamato, Tsunade, Gaara and Killer Bee. If you don't have enough power, then just borrow it from their hands. Because Naruto. That's all, power, that you created. 4 hands laid on body. Your heart isn't dead yet. Hashirama, first Hokage said. If he's submerging himself in darkness, then just use your hands to pull him back up. Tobirama, second Hokage continued speech. And if he tries to shake you off, then scream to wake him up. Hiruzen, third Hokage added. There's no such thing as a feeling that cannot be conveyed. Minato, his father and fourth Hokage finished. Zeus looked at his mortal self and smiled even when he is here. His mortal self will support Naruto in everything. Everyone believes in you, Naruto. Hinata said. You make impossible possible. His deceased friend Neji said. Naruto, that's why, said former root agent Sai. You need to get back up already, said one of the heir of Inuzuka clan Kiba. Don't be afraid to look stupid as you struggle. Shikamaru spoke. That is the Naruto we all know, said loudly Lee. You can do it Naruto. All together spoke in sync. The Konan's voice said, connection don't disappear. You need to harden your fists and stand up again. He started to clench his fist. Keep that fire in your eyes. He started to squeeze eyes harder. Let out a roar, and he heard Sakura's words, come on. Sasuke is waiting for you. Go to him, Naruto. A loud Kurama's voice said, this is all for your sake. Then he heard all of them shouting, for the sake of the future. For the sake of your friend. Forward. Zeus began to think what domain give to his son when he come. And as readied mind helper said, I think a suited domain will be god of friendships and comradeships. Zeus only agreed with him seeing how his son done with his friends and enemies. Naruto began to emerge rapidly and shouting, Woo-ah, and as the bullet flies out of the water. Ah, Sasuke when he saw Naruto are greatly surprised, Naru, too. Naruto dived down and landed in front of Sasuke. He is trying to regain his breath. After Naruto regained his breath looked at Sasuke. Not yet. I'm not letting you leave just yet, Sasuke. Why? Over and over. Over and over and over. Sasuke clenched his fist and shouted, why do you keep doing this? What's wrong with you? Just what are you? Naruto in response just let a little smile and said, your friend. I told you I can't leave you alone, remember? Haha. Ha 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 ha. You're still saying that, after all this? I told you already. I have no intention of going back. But Sasuke was interrupted by Naruto. And I told you that I have no intention of giving up. It doesn't matter what you say to me. I'll never change my mind. I'm just going to keep reaching out my hand to you. Until the very end. Until I reach you. Sasuke and Naruto started to walk towards each other. While walking Sasuke said, my will won't change either. I'm going to cut you down. They stopped when the distance was a few meters between them. In order to end the path I've walked so far. I won't give up on you. In order to keep my path connected, neither of us has much power left. Yes, this is the true end. They both will fight with all their power. One to kill friend and the other to save friend. Hestia frowned. Even if they are not related, but they really see each other as a family, and that it's really hurt her feeling. They closed eyes and 2 leaves fell between them until they reached the land, then they opened eyes and rushed at each other. Enough already. Just let me cut you down. Sasuke drew his sword and began to attack without stopping. Hey, you can't cut your connection to me. Naruto parried and started dodge his attack, waiting for the moment to attack. Connection this, connection that. Just shut up already. Connection are what make this world such a pain. The stronger the connection, the more it tortures me. And Naruto, my connection to you is the most irritating one of all. Why didn't you just cut me off when I went into darkness? In anger, Sasuke began to use the small Amaterasu and Onyx Chidori. How could I? You were like a brother to me. So, my body and my heart just act on their own. I just kept thinking, hoping that you wouldn't have to be all alone. Seizing the moment to attack, Naruto used Rasengan on Sasuke. You! Getting hit by Naruto, Sasuke stood up and rushed at him with all his strength. Naruto rushed too. They strike and sprang apart. Sasuke called Chidori and rushed. Naruto also created Rasengan and rushed. When their jutsu clashed, Naruto remembered the battle on the bridge of the samurai. Flashback. Sasuke. Do you remember? The entire village used to hate me. And I hated them right back. One bad move, and I could have been exactly like you. And I was always alone. I felt better knowing there was someone like me out there. I was happy. I wanted to be your friend, be around you sooner, but I didn't. I was also jealous of you. You were good at everything. So I decided you'd be my rival. You were my goal. You always have been. I had nothing, but I built bonds. And then in our mission as Team 7, I kept chasing after you. I wanted to be like you. So, Sasuke, I've never actually said it before, but I'm happy. Happy I knew you. Zeus, that's why I said to seal Kyuubi in me, not in my son. See what the villagers do to him. A very teary Hera slowly said, almost whispered to husband. Zeus only said, I know, but I truly believed at Naruto that he will keep the right path. Naruto, no matter what you say now, I'm not changing. I'm still going to destroy each and every person in the leaf, including you. Either defeat me and become the hero who saved the village, or fall to me and just be known as a pitiful loser. Those are your only choice. I'm not going to be loser, or the hero who defeated you. I won't be either. Why? What do you want? Flashback end. They were forcefully pushed back with their clothes torn. I'm going to beat you here, just like I did before. You're going to lose, without ever matching up to me. Sasuke launched at Naruto kunai and shuriken. You know that I'm different from how I was back then, don't you? I won't lose anymore. Naruto jumped away and reading Rasengan. No, you haven't changed. That's what's irritating me so much. Now Sasuke threw at Naruto Kagetsuchi. What? Naruto barely escaping from attack. Looks like the end is finally here. This battle will end with your defeat. Sasuke again created Chidori and run. No, it won't. As long as I still have strength to stretch out my hand. Naruto rushed with Rasengan. This time when jutsus clashed, he remembered their fight 4 years ago. Flashback. Sasuke, I wanted to be just like you. I really admired you. We both knew it, right from the beginning. We never actually said it, but we're friends. So, I don't want to give you to Orochimaru. Why, Naruto? Why would you go so far for me? Because this is the first bond I've ever had like this. That's why I'll do anything I can to stop you. A bond. If that's how it is, then I'll just have to sever that bond. Flashback end. They once again pushed back but further. They were seriously injured. GHG. If only you weren't here. If only you'd never been born. Sasuke stood up and jumped to avoid Fuma's shuriken, and when he landed he run at Naruto. This boy crossing a line. Hera angrily spoke. And now dear sister, you're scaring us? A very terrified Demeter stuttered. And Hera just looked at them, giving them all shiver. Too bad for you, I've been by your side from the very start. I'm stubborn, remember? I won't give up until you give up. He jumped back to rush again. When they crashed, Sasuke fall on his back. You. Naruto. He forced himself to his feet and lunged at Naruto. Sasuke. Naruto ran at him with fist at ready. And they both hit each other. Naruto recalled the last but the first fight with him at Academy. Flashback. Naruto was pushed off by Sasuke, hit and land on his back. You jerk. You jerk. Sasuke only looked at him with confused, hey. What are you doing? Naruto get up and run at Sasuke. I'm sick of watching you act all cool every day. You really piss me off. Huh? You're the one to talk. You're the one who's always doing stupid stuff. Just looking at you pisses me off. Sasuke said, easily dodging Naruto's poor attack. Hey, you can't do that, can you? I'm awesome. How petty can you be? You should be ashamed of yourself. Sasuke said while hitting in chest with foot. HMPH. I'm not ashamed at all. You're the one who's always sulking all the time. Just looking at you pisses me off. Huh? You should play more with the rest of us. If you just played with us a little more. Whoa, wait, what am I saying? Stupid, stupid, stupid. Naruto just shouted at himself. Foo foo. A little Naruto is so adorable that I just want to cuddle him and not let him go. Aphrodite giggled at the scene but silenced by deadly glare of Hera. Stay away from my son. You, pedophile. Artemis kept her laughing at the shocked and chickened face of Goddess Love. Quote. Did you just confuse yourself? You really make no sense. Flashback end. Naruto and Sasuke could barely stand on his feet. They hobbled toward each other. Sasuke first struck an uppercut, pushing Naruto back. The second blow was struck by Naruto's left hook to Sasuke's face. The third strike, Sasuke kicked Naruto in face. After Naruto falls, Sasuke sat on him and hit in the face with his right fist. In response, Naruto hit his head on Sasuke's face while throwing him. Naruto stood up and hit him with his right fist and stomach. Naruto then struck again in the face. Sasuke immediately responded blow. Naruto then kicked in the stomach, and again Sasuke punched with fist and stomach. In the end they both punched in the face and fell back to back. But they were again forced their body up and gathered last chakra for the last punch. They turned and hit each other with the last force. And they was thrown with force so much so that Sasuke, crashing on stone, immediately flew to the wall where he crashed, and Naruto slammed into water twice before he crashed his back into the stone. Sasuke pulled out his left hand and stretched out in front of him, began to create the Onyx Chidori. They keep still, continue to fight, even when they on limit. Damn, they're so broken, expressed Hermes. The other agreed with him. Let's, he said. Naruto sat up, leaning on the stone, and stretched out his right hand to create Rasengan. Finish this battle. Sasuke jumped down while Naruto jumped up. The people who helped him flashed before his eye. From Orochimaru, to Team Hubby, to Tobi, to Danzo, to Itachi and Kabuto, to Kakashi and to the last Sakura sinking in darkness. And Naruto felt a faith in him inspirited by thousands people and 9 Biju. From their first battle in Academy. From battle on the Valley of the End. From Orochimaru's destroyed base. From battle on the Samurai's Bridge, all of our battles. They both shouted, Sasuke. In Sasuke's eyes, Naruto from Academy to present. Naruto oh. In Naruto's eyes, Sasuke from Academy to present. WOOHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHHThis is second time I see that sphere. Now this ending will be different. Recalled. They clashed jutsus last time, creating black sphere which from the center a straight white lines runs. The sphere increased and destroyed 2 statues and valley itself. When Sasuke woke up it was night. Now do you finally get it? Naruto was awake. When Sasuke opened eye and looked to left arm he was shocked. So that's how they lost their arms, doesn't it? That was one hell of jutsu. Apollo said, see, if you move, the wound will open. Naruto continued his speech. Why are you so obsessed? Sasuke began, with standing in my way? I acquired this strength so I could cut everything off and enter the darkness. Naturally. Everyone tried to break their bond with me at least once. But you never did. Why are you so determined to stay involved with me? He looked at Naruto, who only chuckled and answered. How many times do I have to tell you? Don't you get it by now? Just answer me. Because we're friends. Just what is a friend, to you? Sasuke stared at Naruto. You can't explain something like that with words. But whenever I see you trying to carry everything on your shoulders like that, it hurts. Sasuke was shocked, but Naruto continued. It hurts so bad that I just can't ignore you. Sasuke closed eye and began think. Naruto. I know that you've always been alone. He recalled when Naruto was a child. Just like me, you felt alienated in the village. But unlike me, you did stupid things to try and get people's attention. Back then, I thought you were an idiot, a weakling. But, deep down inside, I was interested in you too. Then we both grew and ended up on the same team. Sasuke recalled his day with his team and teacher. I did missions together with you, while you kept going on and on about how you wanted to become Hokage. And as I felt us growing stronger together, I decided that I wanted to fight with you someday. Then, I started to see Team 7 as my own family. That's why, whenever I saw you in pain, yes, I also hurt. When I understood your pain, that's when I first thought of you as a friend. But in return, as I saw you grow exponentially strong, I just couldn't ignore you. You had a strength that I lacked. You always walking in front of me. He compared Naruto with his brother. Just like my brother did, and the same is true today. He's really your son Makoto. That's sad that you can't see that, Hera sadly thought. Sasuke was awakened by the voice of Naruto. And he looked to the left. Naruto, who keep trying to get up, said, "Guess it's too soon for you to move. Just when I thought I could punch you to wake up. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Huh." Naruto looked at Sasuke with confused, what? Sasuke looked at Naruto amusingly and said, "You still want to keep fighting?" With these words Naruto got angry and started shouting, "Of course. I'll fight you as many times as I accept it." Huh? Naruto immediately stopped his anger. "I lost." Sasuke looked at Naruto waiting his response. And he got it. "Hey, just like your mother, you so easily to anger. Zeus thinks." Hera felt as if his dear husband insulted her and her son somehow before looking at him. Zeus caught that and sweated. He only nervously smiled that was twitching. Hera made a gesture, "I'm watching you," in his direction. His brother chuckled at his misery. "Why, you idiot, this is not about winning or losing. My friend was sulking, so I just thought I'd punch him to wake him up, that's all." Naruto again shouted angrily at Sasuke. Sasuke closed eye and said, "Hey Naruto. I accept you. If I die here, the chain of war that's been continuing since the time of the Sage of the Sixth Path will come to an end. This is another type of revolution. I decide this issue myself, once and for all. How can you decide anything by dying? You might as well live on and help me instead, if you're just going to do that. What I want to do is cooperate with all the shinobi. Including you, of course," Naruto said, trying to change Sasuke's mind about dying. "Who says everyone else will agree to that? Come on. Go on, spout some more crap like that. I'll punch you again. There's no telling when I may stand up to defy you again in the future. You won't do this kind of thing anymore." "How? Can you be sure of that? Don't make me repeat myself." Then Sasuke remembered Naruto's answers 4 years ago at the Valley of the End, at the Bridge of the Samurai, and last answer. "Come on, you're the one who still doesn't get it. Now that I think about it, I guess you always have been surprisingly dense." With that word Naruto looked at Sasuke and shocked to see his crying. "Shut up, you loser," Sasuke finally answered. They lied on the ruined stone hand, missing their each other arm, and watched at the morning sky. Up there where they lay jumped down 2 person. Sakura and Kakashi. "I knew they'd be there," Kakashi murmured. "Kakashi-sensei." As if asking, Sakura looked at him. "Yeah, go to them." Giving her nod, Kakashi sat down. Sakura just jumped down. Kakashi gave himself a memory of their first day as Team 7. And he covered left eye out of habit, and I smiled. Seeing Sakura crying, Naruto grinning, and Sasuke smiling. "So, he's finally returned." TV watching end. With a smile, helper turn TV off and take disc back in his bag. That's how Naruto and Sasuke lose their arms, but Naruto finally returned his best friend to Sakura. In the throne room was complete in silence. Nobody ever said, even the man-hater goddess Artemis or cold-headed strategist Athena. Zeus and Hera openly crying in pride that their son changed and returned his friend. Poseidon and Hades just added more respect toward a boy. Hestia, Demeter and Hephaestus smiled at boy's determination to not giving up on his friend. Ares smiling a little at honored way of boy, but this quickly turned into frown because boy not killed his enemy. Apollo and Hermes smiling like idiots from the show Incredible Battle. Only Dionysus slept in his chair loudly, who slept in beginning. Satisfied helper cleared throat and said, I told you. They're crazy. Naruto had come to that explanation for Athena's ridiculous words half an hour ago and was literally telling it to anyone who was patient enough to listen. Don't mention it, Naruto. Kiba nodded his head. His dog barked rapidly in agreement. But damn, they're so freaking hot. Artemis growled a comment of Kiba person not liking already. Athena only shook her head. The tiara-wearing girl then turned around and looked at them with murderous killing intent, making Kiba back away in fear. But strangely, Akamaru looked at her before barking again and the girl nodded, then she nodded again before saying something in her language. The hell? She understands. Did she understand what he was saying? Oh, you know dog's language or something? The Inuzuka asked, completely shocked. The Inuzuka clan could perfectly understand their partner, however, like any human, they couldn't speak dog's language, so they didn't exactly know what the dogs wanted. Of course my hunter and me can speak, you stupid boy, Artemis huffed. Artemis, shush. Hestia quickly shushed her. What is she saying? Naruto asked, looking at Athena, as she was the only one who could speak their language out of the 3 people in the room. She said, it looks like your dog is more intelligent than you are, dog boy, the goddess of wisdom translated. Hey, they were currently in the Hokage's office, standing in front of the Godem Hokage, and reported to her about everything that had happened. Artemis and Zoe seemed a little less tense when they found out that the village was currently run by a female, so the two of them weren't that uncomfortable when talking with Tsunade through the help of the one who always keeps a passive face, Athena. Naruto was standing behind the group with Team 10, who had just returned from a mission a moment ago. While the war just over and everyone was tired, they had to continue to do missions to keep the village running at the best potential. Especially a strong village like Konoha, so most Konoha ninja at Chunin or above Chunin level were already out of the village to do missions. Unfortunately for Naruto, even if he was the hero of the 4th Shinobi War, he was still a genin. What? Why he is still in genin rank? After what he done TOTHEM, he should at least have Tokubetsu Jonin or Jonin rank. Hera was furious at village ignorance. The horror of reality, at least for him. I think the situation is more complicated than we thought, Tsunade said, shaking her head while talking to Athena. What is your name again? Athena, and this is my half-sister Artemis and her lieutenant Zoe Nightshade. Nice to meet you, Zoe said in Elemental Nation language, the only sentence she could say clearly. Nike to Mise ku Tsunade Senju. Artemis tried to copy what Athena told her, but unfortunately, because she twitched her tongue so much, it came out like a joke. And when it was a joke, there would be laughter. Shino was too quiet to laugh. Hinata was too nervous to laugh. Kiba was too scared to laugh, while Kurenai was polite enough not to laugh. Shizune held back a chuckle at the last second and remained the polite person she was, while Tsunade nodded her head a little, thinking it was enough. At least no one laughing at me, Artemis mumbled. However, Naruto broke out in full laughter while holding his stomach, rolling on the ground with tears running down his eyes. I take my words back, growled a proud hunter while other tried not laugh, except Aphrodite, Hera and Hestia. The last only chuckled. And that pissed Artemis off. Oh my god, it's so funny Tilda, Naruto said while continue laughing while feeling nothing from the murderous killing intent from both Zoe and Artemis. That's it, I am done with this stupid boy. Artemis gritted her teeth and glared at Naruto while Athena explained the situation to Tsunade, especially about Artemis' problem with the opposite gender. Tsunade held her hand up to stop the Anbu when Artemis stomped over to Naruto, reaching her hand down to reach for the boy while bringing her other hand behind her, preparing for a hard punch. However, Naruto suddenly stopped laughing and grabbed Artemis' wrist, pulling her hard towards the ground before using his elbow to push her shoulder hard, making Artemis fall face first to the ground with Naruto keeping her in place, pinching her down easily with just one hand. Wow sis, he really easy defeated you. And only with one arm. Ouch, sis, the hell? Apollo was kicked in groin by a powerful kick of Artemis' leg. She just glared and her face herself said, shut up Apollo or you will suffer, look. Now, shouldn't you already have figured out that you can't just punch me randomly like that? Naruto asked before turning his eyes slightly to behind him, and shouldn't you put that arrow away from my head? He demanded. Zoe was standing with her bow and arrow ready just inch behind his head, her face cold. You know that they can't understand you? Yeah, but they will understand my fist. Typical disgusting man, how dare you doing that? Artemis thought angrily. Oh my, you submitted to man, dear sniffer. Sniff. I'm so proud that you decided to broke your vow. A too familiar voice chirped and Artemis exploded. What did you just say, you whore? I'm never will be in relationship with a man. You hear me, slut? I only joked. Geez, what bite you to say that? Aphrodite looked away with crossed arm. Artemis, if you try to hurt my son I will curse you. Even Zeus will not help you. Hera quietly thought. Artemis felt a shiver on her back and feeling that she should not want to meet an angry Hera. Naruto's hand released Artemis and he stood up, returning to his spot at the end of the room while ignoring the massive killing intent the auburn-haired goddess was emitting. While she couldn't help but feel absolute anger for being looked down, by a mere male no less, she couldn't help but admire his skills. This boy was skilled, way more skilled than most of the opponents she had ever fought, and he defeated her with one arm only. It was terrifying that he still didn't do anything else other than an arm grip yet, because this boy still had plenty of tricks up his sleeves. The fight with Kaguya she saw yesterday proved that. But, it hurt her pride to no end. In denial was a whisper from annoying goddess of love. Now, if everyone is done, I will return to the matter at hand. Athena turned back to Tsunade and said with a calm tone, unaffected by the recent event. As we said, we're sent here to bring Naruto back to his parents no matter the cost and explain to him everything he needs to know. Could you just stop telling lies? Naruto asked, groaning. I saw my dad, okay? He was dead, and was revived back to fight alongside with me by Edo Tensei and disappeared with a promise of telling mom everything. How can he still be alive when Edo Tensei, a forbidden jutsu that can revive the dead as immortal walking zombies, can be used to revive him? Naruto could be someone who was slow to understand things, especially when it came to complicate things, but he was by no means a stupid person. He knew how Edo Tensei worked, and Orochimaru had released his dad from Shinigami to help him during the war. Oh, I feel there will be a trouble. Hermes said, I don't think is that good idea to tell him that in your way of explaining. He should understand. Athena scoffed while Hera, Rhea and Hestia frowned. If this will keep in that way she may broke him. Naruto is right, Athena-san, Tsunade said, looking at Minato's picture on the ceiling. Next to the previous Hokage, Minato Namikaze and his wife were both one of the most important person in our lives, my life, Naruto's life, and that of the entire village. She then sat straight up and glared at Athena. You attacked a shinobi of Konoha, talked these nonsense things and then attacked him again in my presence. Tell me one good reason I shouldn't arrest you all? Athena sighed. She knew that there were risks when she decided to bring Artemis and one of the huntress with her. At first she thought that it would take time and Artemis' skill to find Naruto. She couldn't foresee that he could be found that easily. Artemis hated males, she knew that, but they all knew just how the gods loved to get into women's pants, especially Zeus and his sons. Maybe Artemis thought that Naruto would be the same as the rest of his family. We will have a long talk, Artemis, about your manners, Hera said, making Artemis only shakily nod with fear. And maybe asking Hestia to come with her wouldn't be such a bad idea, since the goddess of the hearth's caring nature could settle things in the most peaceful ways. Now get back to the matter at hand. Zeus already figured out Naruto that wouldn't believe them, so he already told her to tell him this to confirm her words. Naruto, ask the Kyuubi. Kurama, Naruto cut her off, his name is Kurama. Okay then, ask Kurama if I am telling the truth or not, Athena told him. While Naruto himself didn't believe Athena's words at all, he still turned to his partner and looked at the gigantic fox. So, unfortunately, she is telling the truth. Kyuubi told Naruto, your parents are alive and well. What? He roared in shock, both at the outside and inside world. How can that be possible? Let's see, how should I start? Athena looked at Naruto, and while the question was for Kurama, she thought it was a question for her. Because Naruto, your parents are the king and queen of the gods. Everyone widened their eyes, looking at Athena's group in absolute shock. Of all the things they could think of, Naruto's parent being gods was the only thing they would never think about. More than 14 years ago, your parents came to this world to have an adventure together, not as gods, but as mortals. With the help of the Fates and Hecate, goddess of magic, they created mortal, artificial bodies for themselves and blend in this world. Zeus, the Olympian's god of lightning and skies, the king of the god, became the person you called the Yondaime Hokage, Minato Namikaze and his wife, Hera the Olympian goddess of family and marriage became Kushina Uzumaki. The silence continued for another 30 seconds, as neither of the mortals in this room knew what to say. Kurama, Naruto whispered, I guess it can't be helped then. The Kyuubi sighed and rubbed his forehead with his palm. Yes Naruto, they're telling the truth. What do you mean they're telling the truth? Naruto cried out in anger. There is no way that could be the truth, he shouted. His behavior got wild. Naruto calmed down. Tsunade stood up when he saw Naruto was shouting angrily. But the blonde was faster than her and rushed forward to grab Athena's shirt, glaring deeply into her stormy gray eyes. Okay, he is officially mad at them. Way to go Athena, just what we need, an angry son of king and queen. Surprisingly these words said by awakened Dionysus. No way I'm going to calm down Ba-chan, there is no way I am going to calm down, he said through gritting teeth. Because that is not the truth, you're crazy. He was actually lifting Athena off the ground now. Put her down boy, Artemis shouted with authority in her tone. And you, stay back. He instantly turned to her and shouted, actually making the prideful goddess of the moon step back to her own shock. While the goddess of wisdom was trying to keep a stoic face, she couldn't help but feel nervous due to the hatred in his eyes directed towards her. My dad is Minato Namikaze, he is the Yondaime Hokage of Konoha and my mom is Kushina Uzumaki, the habanero, his wife and the second Jinchuriki of Kurama. He put Athena back to the ground. Don't question my knowledge over my parents. Naruto. For once Kurama, I want you to stay quiet. Tsunade sighed, this was getting out of hands and she knew it. Now, if you three are done with this nonsense, Anbu, escort them out of the village. However, before an Anbu could make a single step, Athena summoned a spear in her hand, alerting everyone in the room. But the goddess of wisdom didn't use it to attack any of them. Instead she put her palm into the blade of her spear and pressed down a little, cutting herself. You see here? Athena asked, turning her palm down, making a golden liquid drop from the wound much to everyone's shock. This is proof that we're goddesses ourselves. This is ichor, the blood of gods. It dropped down onto Tsunade's table much to her bewilderment. I am Athena, goddess of wisdom and battle, so do not question my status as that of a goddess. As if to emphasize Athena's words, the sky suddenly darkened before thunder began rumbling outside, shaking the entire village. Artemis is goddess of the moon, hunt and maidens and Zoe Nightshade is the lieutenant of the hunt of Artemis. The goddess of wisdom put both of her hands on the table. Her eyes shone with power. Are we clear now? Power was radiating from the two goddesses, as their eyes glowed with the same color of their blood. They could be seen in an even more terrifying way because the sky was slowly darkening. Tsunade didn't have any choice but to nod her head. She was in the presence of two goddesses and she was acting like a fool. Naruto kept his eyes on the three young women. He still couldn't accept the fact that his parents were still alive and well, that these young women, one of them he got a chance to piss off, were actually goddesses. Not that he had any problem with them being goddesses, but after having the pleasure of fighting against one with a crazy mind and these goddesses were here, talking ridiculous things about his parent. One could say that he wasn't affected by their power show-off in the slightest. Now, Athena stood straight up, the pressure everyone felt disappeared. I want to have a few words with this man. His name is Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage. He is one of the few people who knew the truth about Naruto's parents. Unfortunately, Athena-sama, Tsunade said with a more respectful tone, not wanting to anger these goddesses even more. Sarutobi-sensei is dead. He was killed by this man during the invasion to Konoha a few years ago. Even Tsunade didn't know that her sensei knew about such thing about Minato and Kushina. What about Jiraiya? Minato's sensei? Now that Athena had touched a sensitive subject, Naruto couldn't stay silent any longer. What? Why? Athena asked. Enough with this, Naruto spoke up, stopping Tsunade before she could speak. I have enough with these nonsense things. I'm going Ba-chan. He headed to the door, he couldn't just stay here for one more second. Artemis glared at him before quickly following the boy, grabbing his shoulder and stopped him from exiting the room. Now just wait a minute, I have enough of your disrespectful attitude, boy, she said with a cold voice. Naruto turned around and shook her hand of his shoulder. He knew that she had problem with men, but wasn't what she was doing was a little bit too extreme. What do you want? It isn't like I can understand you or anything, he glared at her. Actually, she said she has enough of your disrespectful attitude. Kurama spoke up, with the word, boy, at the end. You know how to speak their language? Wow, I didn't know that you could. Naruto couldn't help but said in amazement. Of course I taught him some. Hera spoke. Your mother taught me some. Hera blushed at this. The nine-tailed fox grinned. I can listen and understand their language, but I don't know how to write or read. That only makes their theory about my parent even more realistic, Naruto groaned. Okay, then. How can I say? I don't need to respect someone who tried to kill me just because I grabbed their wrist and wanted to bring them to Ba-chan, in their language. Hera just smirked with pride while Artemis scowled. Others were shocked with his lack of respect to goddess. To Artemis. Wow, the boy have a ball of steel. Apollo said with other man agreed with him. Kurama smirked and spoke up what Naruto need to say very slowly so Naruto could repeat it, and needless to say how shocking it was for Artemis and the others to suddenly hear Naruto speak up a sentence in their language, and almost perfect at that. How can you suddenly know how to speak English? Impossible? Naruto froze a moment before saying with an evil smirk. Surprise? Kurama know how to speak your language, now that I can understand every insult you throw at me, bitch. What did he just call me? Artemis roared, how dare this boy insult me in my face? What did you just call me? Artemis roared, she was seeing red and wanting nothing more that beat the Hades out of this boy. You heard me, Naruto said with a very satisfied grin. I heard from Kurama that your sacred animal is wolf and you can turn into one too, so isn't it right to call you a bitch? Naruto and Kurama were roaring in laughter inside of Naruto's mindscape just by looking at Artemis' extreme angry face. Hera laughed too while Hestia frowned at young boy cursing words. She would teach him not cursing. That does it. You will respect a goddess, you hear me? Respect is earned, not given, Naruto said challenging, and you have done nothing to earn my respect. Artemis was about to scream at him when suddenly Athena said with a calm tone. Peace, sister. Naruto kept his eyes on the goddesses while Kurama was translating everything to him. We're not here to fight. We're here to bring him back to Olympus. Naruto, Athena turned to the blonde and spoke to him in English. What I told you was the truth. Your parents are the king and queen of Olympus. They sent us here to bring you to them, to a different world, the realm of gods. Naruto was familiar with different worlds, since Kaguya sent him and Sasuke through multiple ones before they managed to overcome that technique through the help of Obito and teamwork. Say what? Zeus and Hera shouted. Helper scoffed, yes. He and his friend teleported in many dimension, and Gente Tsukiyomi, limited Tsukiyomi, was a world where you were alive. That last phrase shocked couple. World where they lived with their son. But Naruto wanted to ask them something. That question made Kurama widened his eyes a little but nonetheless translated it all for Naruto. So they were at this place, Olympus, while I stayed here. Naruto's voice was emotionless. Tell me, why didn't they come here themselves to bring me back? Surely Minato and Kushina were very worried for their son, so why didn't they send you three here sooner? Maybe a day or a week after Kurama was forced to attack Konoha. The perfect image of his wonderful parent, the one who sacrificed their life for him, was totally ruined by these women who called themselves goddesses. Hera and Zeus was hurt by their boy's word. How they could know about Sandame lying to them about his so-called death. Rhea frowned, this boy think that his parents abandoned. Athena, what a poor choice word saying to him that. And if they are god and goddess, shouldn't they have the power to? They returned to find you not even an hour later, Naruto. Athena cut him off, they returned to find you. To bring you to Olympus and raise you at their son, but Hiruzen Sarutobi told them that you were dead. Athena looked at Tsunade, who was looking at them with wide eyes, as did Naruto. She was saying in Japanese, so Tsunade and the other could hear it as well. He told your parents you died the same night as their human body died. Hera searched his mind to see if he was telling the truth or not. Athena continued, but she was too distracted at the moment and only saw the memory of him putting your coffin down between your human parents. Hera silently began to cry and Zeus hugged her to comfort. Wait a minute, did you tell me that they were lied to about me? Naruto asked Athena as quickly as he could. Are you telling me that Oji-chan lied to my mother? Naruto looked around, suddenly realizing his vision was darkening. What was happening? Naruto asked himself. Why did his world suddenly turn upside down? Why did everything around him sound like a lie? I swear it on the sticks, Naruto, that everything I told you is the truth. Athena said with a steel-hard tone. Thunder suddenly rumbled. Swear on the Styx? The river Styx is a sacred river that separates the land of the living from the realm of the dead located in the underworld. Oaths made by this river bring something, worse than death, to the oath-bearer if not fulfilled. Athena explained, I just swore to the Styx, and if I was telling lie, then I will be punished with something, worse than death. In truth, it would be her children who would be punished, but right now Naruto didn't need to know that. Naruto didn't know who or what to believe anymore. If this Hera was really Kushina, his mother, then that meant the Sandaime Hokage had kept him away from his parent against their will. His Oji-chan, the one who he looked up to and set his goal to become the Hokage just like him, the one who cared for him when he had no one else to come home to. His life, was it all a lie? Naruto. Tsunade cried out when the blonde suddenly collapsed, sitting on the ground while trying to catch up to the information Athena told him. Athena was immediately glared by teared Hera and looked away. The busty Hokage rushed to Naruto's side and looked at him with worry eyes. The blonde was looking at his hands with his eyes wide in shock. His breathing was going wild. Naruto, are you alright? The Hokage asked kindly. I don't know what, or who to believe anymore, Ba-chan, Naruto said, looking at the Godem Sandaime. My dad, my mom, they. Naruto. Goddess give birth to their child in a very different way than yours. Maybe they just need a few months or weeks to birth a child, but Hera, she bared you with love, with joy. She bared you the mortal's way in more than 9 months just to let the world know that how special you are to her and to see your smile. Even Kurama couldn't believe he was saying something so soft like that. But if Naruto needs his help, then he would gladly lend a hand. Thank you, Kyuubi. Sadly but gratefully whispered Hera. Kurama, I maybe was a wild, bloodthirsty fox back then. But I know your mother better than anyone. There were a lot of things Naruto needed to know about his mother, but right now Naruto should not know about it yet. It is still too soon for him to handle such information about his family. I need time to think. Naruto stood up and walked out of the room with a heavy heart. Line break. That night, Naruto sat on top of his father's head at the Hokage monument, looking at the village below him with sad eyes. I'm sorry, Sochi. I'm so sorry. If I only know that you were alive, I would have taken you with us to Olympus. Hera again cried. So you're here, Naruto? The blonde turned around and saw his best friend walking toward him. I heard the story from the Godem. Everyone is worried about you. Naruto remained silent when Sasuke sat down next to him. Remember our first fight at the Valley of the End? Sasuke asked. The fight you literally shoved your hand through my chest? Yeah, I remember that. Naruto nodded his head. There was a long moment of silence before both of them broke out in chuckle. Everyone winced. His friend shoved his arm trot boy chest and he was alive. Even Ares started respect him. Very funny, but, you remember what I screamed at you? About our parents? Yeah, at that time I don't even know who they are. Naruto said while scratching the back of his head. I thought they were killed during Kurama's attack, or maybe they left me. Chaos, no. We won't be so bad to giving up on you. Zeus spoke with a hard glare. But turned out your dad was the Yondaime Hokage and your mom is a very powerful and skilled kunoichi. Sasuke nodded. Now, it turns out that they are even more than that. He looked at the sky. The king and the queen, huh? Naruto followed his best friend's eyes and saw the moon shone brightly on the sky. Today was a full moon and for some reason, he got a feeling that Artemis was directly her beautiful silver eyes at him. Now when he got a good look at the moon, he saw that it was almost the same at Artemis' silver eyes. Gentle yet full of passion. Say what? Artemis was shocked. First he insulted me, now he is complimenting me. The passion to kick your ass, Kurama snickered. I told you to not anger her in any way, only bring trouble to the both of us. I don't need you to remind me how feisty she is, Kurama, Naruto groaned. Really, that goddess was worse than Sakura when they were young. Someone that beautiful and attractive had to be that weird, at least in his opponent. Anyway, Godem-sama also told me about the Sandaime. Don't mention it, Sasuke. Naruto shook his head. He was dead. Even if I want to ask him why he told my parent that, we couldn't. Who said we couldn't? Sasuke asked. What? All of them shouted before Athena first to come understand. Edo Tensei, the unholy resurrection from dead. Naruto turned to black-haired Uchiha and looked at him as if he was crazy. However, just a second later Naruto understood what his best friend was talking about. But Snakeface disappeared shortly after the war end. Can we find him? Which Snakeface are you talking about? Orochimaru or Kabuto? Who is Kabuto? I hope he is not his son? Their world do not need another Orochimaru. A very terrified Zeus whispered. Who would want another pale insane pedophile? Very funny Sasuke, you know who I am talking about. It might take time to find him at this timing, Sasuke pointed out. But you forget that who is the goddess that attacked you today. Naruto nodded his head hitting his knee. Artemis. Kurama did say that the goddess of the moon had the ability to track him down even he was halfway across the world. Artemis was also the goddess of the hunt and she had been hunting from the day she knew how to walk, which was more than 3,000 years ago. Tomorrow, he would ask her to find Orochimaru and ask Snakeface to help him bring the old man back and get the answers. But what about the sacrifice? I'm not going to let Snakeface kill another person just to summon Oji-chan back so I can ask him a few questions. Don't worry, we will both make sure that will not going to happen. That night Naruto couldn't sleep, his mind filled with so much thoughts that it kept his eyes from closing and rest. He just laid there and stared at the ceiling and the next things he knew, it was 4 o'clock in the morning. Hestia frowned, it's not good for his health. He should sleep more. It wasn't like he could get any sleep anyway, so Naruto put on his shirt, a little hard because he was getting familiar with working with one hand only, but Naruto still managed to put both of his feet into his pants and tied the kunai porch around his legs, with another shuriken porch on behind him on his belt. He's still trying to be a ninja, even if he lost his dominant arm. I can respect that. At least his determination and stubbornness. Everyone was shocked to the Ares' respectful words. Apollo with a shaking hand pointed at Ares. Who are you? And what have you done with real Ares? In response Ares shouted, shut up you blondie. Before he was hit by a shoe that was through by Goddess of Love. Just shut up you muscle steroid freak. Let me read about our prince in silence. Save us from your stupidy and insults. Tying the Konoha's forehead protector at the back of his head, Naruto walked to the door of his apartment and walked outside, heading to training ground number 3 to have a morning workouts. It didn't take long for Naruto to arrive at the memorable place, the training ground where Team 7 was formed and the place Kakashi taught them the first lesson, one of the most important rules of his life. Those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. Athena hearing this was impressed, that a very wise words, maybe this shinobi have a honor unlike those Japanese ninja. The training ground held so many memories, so maybe he should ask Sasuke and Sakura about having one last lesson with Kakashi before he became the Rokudame of Konoha, to let him know how much Team 7 had grown after reuniting with each other. Suddenly Naruto heard the very familiar twang of a bowstring and the following thud of an arrow hitting its target. He followed the sound until she reached a clearing with 3 wooden logs, the same place he fought Kakashi for the first time. There he found a little girl about the age of 10 or 11 years old with a very family auburn hair firing arrows at a target around 100 yards away. Look Arte, it's you? Apollo happily shouted. Artemis on other hand just give her annoying little brother a glare. Even when Naruto knew very little about bow and arrows, he was slightly awed at the girl's skill with a bow. The speed and accuracy she was shooting at was better than any shinobi throwing their weapons. That girl looked oddly familiar though. You know that I may shoot you down right there Uzumaki, the girl suddenly spoke up when Naruto landed on top of a tree. I hope you are not threatening my son Artemis. Because if you do, Hera whispered loudly, leaving unfinished threat to Artemis' mind. Artemis shivered and hoped that her future self will not do anything stupid. The voice was much more childlike, but it was the same kind of tone that Goddess of the Moon used to talk to him yesterday. Artemis? Naruto asked, jumping down to the ground about a few feet away from the goddess, then walked toward her very carefully so that she would know he don't have any weird intent. Wow, you're a kid, what happened? Kurama was in action again to translate everything for Naruto. The only one he knew could change their age like that was Tsunade, but she was a 50-year-old lady who had problem with gamble. He doubted that she and Artemis shared the same interest in wager. Of course not. If someone gambles then it is only my brother, Artemis scoffed at his male predictable mind. Apollo pouted at her. As gods can change our appearance as will. This is the age I usually look like, she said and shot another arrow, saying that calmly. Huntresses? Like Zoe? Yes, like Zoe. She nodded her head before saying, I could appear as a grown woman like yesterday, or a blazing fire, or anything else I want, but this is what I prefer. This is the average age of my hunters, and all young maidens for whom I am patron, before they go astray. Go astray? Grow up. Become smitten with boys. Become silly, preoccupied, insecure. Forget themselves. Oh, you mean fallen in love? Naruto suddenly realized with a large smile, his hand hitting his other palm. Artemis' left eyes twitched. He defiantly had to say that, it is very annoying when she say a word, go astray. Artemis' left eyes twitched. Turning around she returned to her training, shooting arrows straight to the middle wooden log. I rather not talk about it. She used that sentence to end their conversation, but Naruto still standing there right behind her. Then, the blonde reached his hand into his shuriken pouch and pulled out a half-dozen of shurikens. With just a simple throwing move, all 6 shuriken left his hand and flew straight forward toward the middle wooden log which was filled with silver arrows. But unlike Artemis who hit the wooden surface right away, Naruto's shuriken splitted 6 arrows of Artemis in half before their blades striking into the log. Wow, he got a good aim, sis. He even surpassed my son, Robin Hood? Artemis instantly turned around, glaring at him. You're welcome. His chuckling then stopped. Artemis, my mom and dad. Do they have any more children other than me? Kurama had filled him in that gods was immortal and his so-called godly parent had lived for more than 3,000 years as husband and wife, so it wouldn't be a surprise if they had any more children than him. Artemis looked at Naruto for a moment. She didn't know if she should tell him the truth or not, that his father, her father was basically the biggest man whore ever and had countless affairs. Even the goddess standing in front of him, the goddess who was reading books in a tent not too far away, were all his half-sisters. But since he asked Zeus' children with Hera, she would answer the things he wanted. Smart move, sister. Athena complimented her sister. Artemis was relieved at her future choice. There are Hebe as the Greek goddess of youth and also the former cupbearer of the gods back at the old day. Artemis started. Then Enyo was a goddess of war and destruction. Wait, isn't Athena the goddess of war? Naruto asked, cutting Artemis off her speech. Athena is the Olympians' goddess of war and wisdom, while Enyo was a minor goddess of war. She told him, Athena has a more important role than Enyo, but it's kind of opposite in Roman. She wanted to pull out the knife and gut Naruto right there for making that totally confused face. Imagine your leader Tsunade and your shinobi council. So why didn't you just say so? Artemis nearly face-palmed. It seemed that she had figured it out his problem. This whisker-cheeks idiot wasn't as stupid as she thought. Quite opposite actually, it just that he was relatively naive, simple, and slow to understand principle or situations, often requiring an oversimplified analogy in order to grasp what was being explained to him. Past Artemis face-palmed too. In short, to Artemis, a simple-minded idiot boy. Hera once again glared at her stepdaughter. Please continue. Okay then. Next is Enyo, the goddess of war and destruction. Can't say I will get along with her if we ever met, so the boy wasn't like war, Artemis mused. Fair enough, since he already went through a war himself. The goddess of the moon already figured it out what he was going to say when she mentions Ares. Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, Artemis continued, and then Hephaestus, the Olympians' god of forges, fire, technology, craftsmen, sculptors, volcanoes, and blacksmiths. Wow, that is a lot. I know, but I can't help it, little brother, I just love it doing it. Call it as my hobby and profession. Hephaestus said with smile on his scarred face. Hera smiled at his immortal son. She was glad that he accepted Naruto as a brother. Some of us Olympians have more than one domains, like me, other than the goddess of the hunt and moon. I'm also the goddess of the chastity, animals, and the wilderness. Okay, alright, is there anyone else? Yes, Ares. Artemis said that with a very distasteful tone, making Naruto raised an eyebrow at her. Olympian's god of war. That's it? Something you don't like it, huh? Puny human, Ares growled. He less and less liked this stupid boy. While others rolled their eyes. Yes, your eldest brother is mortal's least favorite, Naruto nodded. Unlike Athena, who is the goddess of wisdom, making her somewhat a goddess of war of justice, your brother is the complete warmonger, battle maniac and bloodthirsty. Typical man. Damn, Naruto scratched the back of his head. Why do I have a feeling that he is going to challenge me for a fight? Probably, was all Artemis said and looked at Warmonger. Probably, was all Artemis said before returning to what she was doing. Artemis blushed a little and others laughed. He got a big family was all Naruto thought in his head, he got a big family waiting for him at this place, Olympus. While most of them might not as pretty as he thought like Ares or Enyo, they are his family, the family he always wished for when he was young. The family goddesses brightly smiled at his thought and promised to give all love he was taken from young age. Then suddenly, after 30 minutes of neither party said any words to each other and focused on their morning workouts, Naruto's stomach suddenly grumbled like thunder, earning the attention of Artemis, who looked at him as if she was looking at a strange creature. Hee, sorry about that, Naruto laughed sheepishly. You never stop to amaze me, Artemis sighed, shaking her head, just when I thought you're done showing yourself, once again you come back and show a new side of you. Guess it is because I am awesome, right? He grinned brightly, which really reminded her of Apollo's upbeat attitude. Hopefully he would never turn out like her childish brother. His stomach rumbled once again. Hey, I'm not that bad little sis. But in return Artemis gave a look making him nervous. I have enough of your hungry ass. She snapped her finger and in a flash of light, a set of picnic table and chair appeared from thin air beside Naruto, surprise him. Wow, how can you do that? Godly power. Artemis replied shortly, now sit down and I will find you something to eat. You know how to cook? Naruto asked, sat down while looking at Artemis in surprise. What do you really mean when you ask that question? Artemis asked, glaring at Naruto slightly, who just laughed sheepishly. Of course I know how to cook, but some boy like you don't deserve to taste my cooking, let alone eat it. She said that with a smirk. Well, then how? But Naruto was silenced for the second time because Artemis clicked her fingers once again and foods suddenly filled the entire table. Various kinds of foods. Some Naruto never tasted or even saw in his life. Consider this an apology for how I acted yesterday, said Artemis, sat down the chair opposite from Naruto. I attacked you for something nonsense and my behavior was like of an immature little girl. With a shocked eyes all of them looked at Artemis while she turned away. Helper only chuckled. Of course they shocked. She, the goddesses who hate a male kind, apologizing to a boy. That was a serious gossip. Well, you're a little girl, right? I mean, you can continue. Naruto was about to tell a joke, but stopped himself because Artemis looked up and glared at him like he wanted to eat him alive or put an arrow through his head. As I was saying before being rudely interrupted, Artemis said, voice full of sarcasm, please consider this simple breakfast at the redemption for my actions. It wasn't like I was holding something against you. Naruto grinned, but thanked for the meal anyway. He then picked up the chopstick and dug in. But after the first bite was in his mouth, Naruto looked at Artemis and asked, you don't eat? Gods don't eat, we lie from the mortals' faith in our domains. Artemis then summoned a bowl of small cubes and put a piece in her mouth. But we can eat this. Ambrosia. The food eaten by gods, or drink this. Nectar, the drink consumed by the gods. She then summoned a cup filled with strange color liquor inside. Can I have some? He asked, wondering how the food and drink of gods taste like. Sure, have some. Artemis gave it to Naruto, who took it and threw it into his mouth. But since you're mortal, unless you want your blood to be turned to fire and bones to sand, then sure. Have as much as you like. Naruto instantly spitted it out of his mouth, horrified. Artemis laughed at his priceless face but stopped after once again glared by Hera. What the hell? He screamed in Japanese, and even though Artemis couldn't understand, he knew he was cursing and couldn't help but laugh. Naruto looked at the laughing little girl, pouting before turning down and returned to the normal foods. Right about the time I thought you're nice enough, he said, putting the food into his mouth. Hey Artemis. What, can you summon ramen? Why is that food? It unhealthy and, please, it's my favorite food, he begged with hand in front of him. If he still had his right hand then his hands would clap together. To me, it's the food of the gods. Not that, dangerous cookies. He pointed to the bowl of ambrosia, which Artemis was pouring the nectar inside and ate it from a spoon. Okay, go on, Artemis groaned and summoned the food he wanted. Itadakimasu, he shouted and dug in. Not even 10 seconds later. Done, can I have some more? He asked, grinning brightly and put the bowl down much to the shock of the goddess of the hunt. What in the Hades? How his stomach not exploded? Artemis was officially shocked. What in the Hades, what is wrong with you? She asked before shaking her head with her hands massaging her forehead. Forget that. Here, just eat. She replaced the entire table with bowl and bowl of ramen, making Naruto grin. Thank you. The rest of Naruto's breakfast ended in just 10 minutes, as he finished 10 bowls of ramen in just a few seconds really surprised Artemis. Artemis had never seen a boy like him before, who had proved to her that he was much more than he appeared to be. Sure, he was simple-minded, disrespectful and sometimes full of himself, but he had amazing skills in fighting and a very great mind for strategy, as Athena had commented it when they watched Naruto and his friend fought against Kaguya. She hated to admit it, but she would have to fight her hardest if she wanted to keep up with a Naruto who only fought with just one arm, who easily defeated her yesterday and actually show enough skills with just that to defeat her 3,000 years of experience. Artemis don't want to admit it, but her future self was right. She depressed. If she would have fight against boy, then she need fight seriously. Or maybe she was blinded with anger and he defeated her easily using that at his advantage. It's not, sister. After all, he and his companions defeated a primordial. He defiantly can keep up with you easily. Athena said, getting Artemis depressed more. That must be it, Artemis mused to herself. It was her anger that clouded her judgment and made her to lose to him. He fought on the equal ground against a primordial being, remember? Don't remind me. Artemis only have more depressed. Artemis shivered. She could hear those words from the deepest part of her mind. Even ninja of this village was able to keep up with Zoe and could kill her in a close combat battle by the time her arrows ran out yesterday. She now know why the older gods and goddesses never told them about this world. Hey Artemis, Artemis, Naruto suddenly spoke up, clicking his fingers in front of her face to draw the goddess of the moon back to the ground. Her mind probably like the moon going somewhere above the sky, he mused. Oh sorry, what do you want to say again? She blinked and looked at him. I want your help today, Artemis, he said. I want to find out the truth about Sarutobi Oji-chan's lie about me to my parent. But wasn't he already dead? Artemis crossed her arms on her chest. Sure, gods like us can go to the underworld if the owner allow, but your world's world of afterlife is very different than ours. There is no guarantee that we can enter it the same way. So we will see Orochimaru being hunted? I can wait. Zeus was grinning and so was Hera. They both want to see that traitorous snake being hunted. Poseidon and Hades looked at him weirdly and creeped out of their grins. They creeped out more when the couple began to laugh as a villains. I don't need you to take me to the underworld, hell or heaven. Whatever it is. He shook his head. But I heard from Kurama that you have the ability to track one down even if they are halfway around the world. I want you to help me find this man, Orochimaru, and he is the key to all my questions. Find another man. This mission can't get worse. Artemis wanted to slap herself. Alright, I will help you. But as soon as you got your answer you will come with us, alright? If that satisfy me, Naruto nodded. Line break. It's nice to see you two so friendly this morning. What happened? The goddess of wisdom asked Artemis, sitting down the picnic table, the same spot Naruto had been sitting a few hours ago to talk to her half-sister. The blonde shinobi was standing in the water while punching and kicking his feet around, trying to get used to fight with his left arm since now he had to fight with just one hand for sometimes. We started off in the wrong foot, Artemis nodded, but at least he didn't do anything wrong yet, at least until now. So you two, talk? Athena asked before bringing out a book. Just yesterday, the two was head-to-head against each other and Naruto had absolute problem with the opposite gender after all. And treat him breakfast, as an apology for action tomorrow. Did he talk anything about coming with us? Yes, but he needs to find out the truth about him being here without his parent knowing. He need me to help him find this man. Name Orochimaru? Athena raised an eyebrow at this. Something about this man could help him talk to Hiruzen. Well, Shinobi has plenty ninjutsu and powers that we still don't know anything about. Artemis couldn't help but agree. You two talk? Can we just talk about something else? 7 o'clock, the two goddesses and huntress stood in front of the main gate of Konoha behind Team 7. The same team of mortal fought against a woman who was as strong as the primordial gods. Naruto and Sasuke had told Tsunade about the idea of finding Orochimaru to search for the information he wanted, and since Sakura was there as well, Naruto couldn't help but ask the last member of Team 7 to go with them to make their team a whole again in this mission. Tsunade-sama is nearly done with the prosthetic hands made from Hashirama-sama's cells? Sakura told her teammate, I guess when we come back after this mission you two will have your hands back. Oh, I so want to have that cells if they can be used as artificial limbs. Apollo pouted. Their medicine science is more advanced than mortal science. Great, Naruto grinned. At least he wouldn't have to learn to do the simplest kind of things with just one hand for the rest of his life. Like fighting with both arms were better than with just one. I don't think I can receive it anytime soon, Sasuke suddenly spoke up. What do you mean? Sakura asked while Naruto remained silent. He knew his friend would bring up this subject and told it to Sakura. I need to see it for myself. How the world looks, Sasuke told her. What? Sakura shuddered, looking down. Artemis sighed, another maiden in love. These girls have so much potential and she would have be a good medic huntress. And Aphrodite squeal at little girl love for a handsome black-haired boy. Artemis' eyes twitched a little. Did that girl in love with that black-haired boy? In her opinion, that was the worst possibility that could happen to any girls, no matter what worlds they were. Sakura was a strong young woman. The fight with Kaguya clearly showed that and would be a fine addition to her hunt. Maybe she could ask the young pink-hair lady to join her hunt after this, since it looked like the black-haired boy was going to leave her. Before Sakura can say anything further, Kakashi Hitaki appeared with his hands in his pocket. So, the team is all here, Kakashi said with his usual tone. Yo. He greeted Team 7 with an eye smile before turning to the goddesses and huntress. It's my pleasure to see two goddesses in person. I'm Kakashi Hitaki and the Rokudame Hokage of this village. He then added, I was also the sensei of Team 7. Kakashi sensei? Naruto gasped in surprise. What are you doing here? I thought you're… Now don't worry, the masked man smiled. When I heard that you three are about to head out to find Orochimaru, I couldn't help but come here as soon as I can. As soon as you can? Naruto asked, slightly smirking. So, there is no black cat on the street and helping old lady this time? It was 2 hours ago that I walked out of the Hokage's office. Naruto and Sakura groaned while Sasuke just sighed. Relax, I'm just kidding. Great Team 7 are all here for our last mission. Naruto grinned brightly before turning to the immortal group behind him. I think it's time to go, ladies. He spoke in English. Okay, but first, Artemis walked to the group. Can anyone tell me how is this Orochimaru looks like? Snake face. Evil eyes. Naruto described very simple, really pale skin. Look like someone already dead. Those who can speak English looked at him. What? It's the truth. Well, he is not wrong. Hera said exactly like that when she bumped into him when we were sorted as team. Zeus nodded sagely while Hera shivered. Oh, she should have kept her mouth closed then. But no, she should have insulted him and Orochimaru scared her and give her a nightmare. Kakashi, do you have a picture of Orochimaru or anything that can show Artemis about him? Athena asked the new Hokage of Konoha. Oh, Tsunade-sama gave this to me. Kakashi pulled out from his shirt pocket a picture and gave it to Athena, who could see a younger Tsunade and a man with long spiky white hair and another one with long black hair and pale skin. Naruto was right. His skin was really pale and looked like someone already dead. I take that this man is Orochimaru. Athena nodded her head before giving it to Artemis, pointing the pale-skinned man in the picture. Then, she closed her eyes and not a moment later the shinobi could hear the sound of lot of animals were approaching them. All gasped in shock when hundreds and hundreds of various kinds of animals instantly present in front of Artemis. Birds gathered around the area and there were still more to come. Foxes, wolves, wild cats, even creature like bugs, butterflies and snails were present and in front of the goddess of the hunt. Damn, Naruto said in amazement. She probably a goddess, Naruto commented while looking at Artemis, who was showing the animals the picture of Orochimaru and the other Sannin. Alright, split up and find this man for me. Also tell your friends and the other creatures as well, she said loudly and instantly. The animals all bowed to Artemis before parting away, disappeared as fast as they appeared. Now we wait. Just in case they can find him. Sasuke spoke up. We should head to one of Orochimaru's old hideouts at Otogakure, in case he decided to return there. Alright. Kakashi nodded his head while Athena translating everything back to Artemis. Let's go team, they all nodded and the shinobi shot up, moving fast on top of the tree while the goddess of the mood and her lieutenant ran below them on the ground. Athena transformed herself into an owl and flew up, flying on the sky. They traveled for 3 hours at top speed. Neither parties talked to each other but talked among themselves. as Athena and Artemis were conversation through telepathy about Elemental Nation and what Athena had found out about this world. Zoe was keeping a close eyes on everything around her, taking in every details of the incredible wilderness of Elemental Nations. Neither huntress had seen such fine nature like this before. "Ah, now I really want to go there with my huntresses." Artemis pouted. Oh, why her father not tell about these place? She and her daughters would be live there. Then suddenly when they about to arrive at the border between Land of Fire and the Land of Sound, Artemis shouted. "Wait!" Everyone stopped and the shinobi got down to the ground. The stormy gray owl flew down and transformed back to Athena. "Did you find him, mistress?" Zoe asked, the same question all wanted to ask her. Just wait a second. After saying that, the auburn-haired goddess put her hand on the ground and stayed silent for a little before standing up again. "Found him." "What, just like that?" Naruto asked, surprise. Shouldn't one of the animals return to you and tell you wherever Orochimaru is?" "I can communicate with animals even from far distance." Artemis shook her head. "One of them found Orochimaru and 3 more shinobi at the underground base about 3 miles from here. I know that place." Orochimaru returned there to gather all of his research with the rest of Taka. Sasuke nodded his head at Naruto, and he was wondering where his short-time teammate was. "His old team," Naruto explained. "I will lead the way," the auburn-haired goddess said before heading toward the direction the animals were leading her as fast as she could while everyone following closely behind. It didn't take long for them to arrive at their destination, a small area surrounded with trees and rocks. Hard to find Orochimaru's headquarters if not for Artemis leading them. The first impression about Orochimaru's headquarters was an underground basement, with a secret door hid really well but soon found by Zoe. "Wow, a secret villain's base. How evil," Hermes joked. "Naruto, wait!" Sakura shouted when suddenly, Naruto launched himself forward and rushed toward the secret door of Orochimaru's hideout without any stopping. However, before he could get in, Naruto was bounced back by an invisible barrier. Typical male. "They do first, then think," Artemis scoffed and felt a little satisfied at his act. "Interesting." Athena got next to Naruto, bringing her hand out to touch the invincible barrier. "Of course, Orochimaru will put something like this to protect his base." Kakashi nodded his head before turning to his team. "This is a very..." But before he could say anything more, Naruto, who just took a few seconds to gather natural energy, with his left hand, punched the barrier with so much raw strength that the collision shook the entire area and shocked everyone, completely shattered Orochimaru's protection with his physical power alone. "Holy? His power just broken? Is it natural energy can do that?" Poseidon shouted. "Of course, Senjutsu can do that. It is more powerful than simple chakra punch." Zeus answered before thinking, what will happen if he will try to gather Gaia energy? "I hope his Senjutsu will not wake her from a sleep." Powerful barrier. Kakashi finished his sentence while the barrier collapsing in front of them. Sasuke just sighed. "Idiot!" Sakura shouted and punched Naruto upside down on his head. Actually held back a lot of her strength in order to not seriously hurt him. Now he is going to think someone is attacking him. While I'm glad that girl have a power that surpassed Zeus' annoying demigod, still she should not have to hit him. Hera said and frowned. "Hey, this is faster than waiting for Orochimaru to come out or has unsealed the barrier," Naruto cried out while holding his head in pain. "Typical do first think second," Athena commented. "Blindly charge into battlefield like that can get you killed sometime. So you have any other ideas to get in? It's not like we are in good term with Orochimaru and Taka. Well, other than Sasuke." "I had plans," Athena said blankly, "but you ruined it. Thank you very much." "Duh, a guy is trying to find the truth here." "No duh. He have a point," Hades said. Some of them agreed with him. Athena only shook her head and followed the other inside, with Naruto opened the door for all of them. Naruto, Kakashi was the last one, standing at the door and looked at Naruto. "Can I have a few words with you?" "Of course, sensei," he nodded. "I know that you're very worried about the upcoming meeting with the Sandame," the Rokudame Hokage said. "But you need to calm down. Losing your cool and risking everyone's life like that is not you at all." "Sensei," Artemis-sama said. "Orochimaru inside." A goddess said. "Orochimaru is inside this place, then mean he is in here." Kakashi gave him an eyes smile. "He is not going anywhere and more friendly than before. I believe that he will help you summon Sandame-sama. So takes a deep breath and calm down." With that, Kakashi walked inside, leaving Naruto with himself outside of the underground basement. The blonde sighed, he shouldn't act like that. Kakashi was right, he needed to calm down and think more carefully about the situation. He had to make sure he was calm and clear mind when talking with the man who currently the reason for his childhood without his family. Taking a deep breath, Naruto walked in. When Naruto were 3 steps inside. Sasuke-kun, damn it, another girl in love, Artemis growled. Aphrodite giggled and sighed at love they read. A squeak could be heard and a girl with red hair and glasses launched herself forward towards Sasuke, who had foreseen it and replaced himself with Sakura. Is she Uzumaki? Hera thought. To say the student of Tsunade Senju was unpleased was an understatement. Her eyes twitched when Karen crashed into her with the redhead's arms wrapped tightly around her head, which she thought should be Sasuke's. Gripping her hand into a fist tightly, Sakura then crooked it back and punched Karen away from her, sending Naruto's human side relative across the underground basement and crashed into a wall. So she is Uzumaki. Hera was confirmed her guess. This is the worst, Zoe commented about what the redhead just do. I thought you only have problem with boys, Naruto asked, looking at the lieutenant of Artemis, not the girls. I don't have problem with love-struck girls, Zoe said emotionlessly, I pity them. Blindly got into something that only hurt them later on. While they can do much better than following behind boy, Artemis Hunt was a group of girls and Naruto already figured out why Artemis formed said hunt in the first place as well as their opinion about the opposite. Karen got out of the wall. Sakura punched her through with the last 2 shinobi of Team Keita, Suigetsu and Jugo right behind her. My, Sasuke, Suigetsu said with a mouth full of sharp teeth. It's just 2 days and you're already here with the hero. He then looked at Naruto. You're here to capture us or something? Of course not, idiot. Sasuke-kun is here to visit me and later bring him back to the village. She then shot to Sasuke and wrapped her arms around his left arm, leaning her head slightly on his shoulder. Isn't that right, Sasuke-kun? Those women behind them, Jugo spoke up with his usual calm tone. They're not normal. Suigetsu and Karen looked at him as if he was crazy while the 3 immortal beings just looked at the orange hair man in a little surprise. Up to this time they shouldn't feel any surprise from what the shinobi can do anymore. They're my friends, Naruto said before looking around. Can you 2 lead me to where Orochimaru is? I got a favor to ask him. There is no need for that. A cold and chilling voice could be heard as Orochimaru made himself present to everyone, wearing the same attire he wore. The legendary Sannin of Konoha walked out from a secret tunnel with a smile. You 4. Especially the Hokage and Sasuke-kun are the last person I expected to visit this place. He then turned his eyes slightly to the immortal group. And bring some unfamiliar women with you too. Is he really a son of Medusa? Hermes asked. Of course not. That woman can't have a children there. Athena frowned. Good to see you too, Orochimaru, Kakashi sighed. So can I ask why you are here? The snake Sannin asked. Not here to bring me back to the village and commit my crime, I hope. We need you to help Naruto talk to the Sandaime-sama, Sasuke informed, and Orochimaru was a little surprised at this. There is something he needs to ask. Then you perfectly know what jutsu is need to summon him as well as the requirement, the Sannin said calmly. Lucky for you that Naruto. I have one here with me. Orochimaru then turned around and walked ahead. Please follow me. Oh right. But let me warn you, if you intend to use a human's life to summon the Sandaime, I will make sure that you have a few scars that can never heal. Naruto quickly followed right behind Orochimaru, saying that and made the snake eyes man stopped. So to resurrect a soul they need a live sacrifice, but if they want to resurrect they need a human. So what a replacement will be instead a human? Hades concluded. If using a human is the only choice for the sacrifice, will you still do it, Naruto? The blonde was a little taken aback by that question. He looked down a little before quickly turning his eyes back to Orochimaru. I will find another way. I just want to ask Oji-chan directly, Naruto told him. If there is no other choice I will find a different way to find out the truth. Very well then. They all head to a wide room of Orochimaru's underground basement, where the room was being lighted up by multi-candles inside of the snake's mouth which were opened wide on the wall. Athena could clearly see the place was some kind of laboratory in a way, with multi-strange device and documents on the papers, with lots of scroll and some books as well. And in the middle of the room there is a tank filled with liquid and inside was. Isn't that Zetsu's clones? Naruto asked, surprised. I thought they was all disintegrating. Who is Zetsu? Athena asked from Helper. Helper looked her and answered. They are a biologic human hybrid without a soul. They used them as army in Fourth Great War. They were a millions clones. Created by Kaguya and they was a human. That shocked all of gods and goddesses. While Ares frowned. So they just a puppet. Not fun. Ares would have a real soldiers to fight, not some a simple one-looking tree clones. Took me a while to keep him alive, but he is not the original one from Zetsu army, Orochimaru smirked. He is the second one and the most stable one. The original and the first clone already crumble away before I could stable them. He cloned that man from original man? Athena asked Naruto quietly. As far as she concerned, their origin shouldn't be known by too many people. Athena was talking with Naruto while looking at the pale man with spikes on his body floating inside the tank filled with water. Taka was helping Orochimaru drank the liquid away to take Zetsu outside. Indeed he was? Naruto scratched his chin. Your worlds doesn't have cloning? Artemis and Zoe turned to hear their conversation in interest. Cloning isn't an unfamiliar term to our world. But clone a human being was banned right after the idea was given. It was wrong, simply inhuman, but we can clone animals or an organ to replace the damaged organ. Wow, I think I can understand that. Naruto nodded his head. I don't think my world have any rule forbid us from cloning, but I don't think anyone other than Orochimaru and Kabuto ever done this. He then made a clone of himself appeared next to him with one hand seal. Surprised the immortal group when a perfect replica of Naruto appeared. Whoa, a clone? Apollo was surprised. If he only had that abilities he would have so much fun. But he was hit by Sister who sensed that his idiot brother thinking something. Aphrodite on other hand, I would have used it to a bedroom. She giggled at a kinky idea. Hera blushed remembering a kinky night when she used that technique on her husband. Zeus had a nosebleed. Yeah, he will forever remember that night. We also have a jutsu that allow us to create copies ourselves, called Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. He dispelled the clone, who grinned at the immortal group before disappearing. These clones are just real as I am because I distributed my chakra among every clone, giving each clone an equal fraction of my overall power. Then that mean you split this chakra energy in half and give it to each clone, right? Athena's head perked up with interest. She knew what was chakra from the books she read at Olympus, given by her father. Then the more clones you make the more exhausted you are. Yeah, kind of? Naruto nodded. It was particularly true, but Naruto was a different case. He never felt tired before when summoned hundreds of clones. That is Uzumaki for you. They not only have a longevity but a stamina and chakra reserve. Hera proudly answered rhetorically. The preparation is ready, Orochimaru said, drawing everyone's attention. Zetsu, still breathing but was just barely, was lying on the ground in front of them. I'm sorry because this is one of the first jutsus you have to see, Naruto told the immortal group. Orochimaru then opened the scroll contained the Sandame's DNA he got long ago and put it on the ground and put his hand on it, activating the jutsu. Once the scroll was activated, the marks inside spread out in the form of a special seal with Zetsu, the living sacrifice in the center. Then dust and ash encased the Zetsu's body before slowly forming itself into an old man wearing black battle attire with the Konoha's forehead protector on top of his head. What was that? Artemis asked. Did he just summon the dead people? Naruto said. In order to make this technique work he needs a DNA sample and a sacrifice. A vessel for the soul of the person he wants to reincarnate. Now Athena and the other immortal understood why Naruto was so against the idea of using a human's being. To them, Zetsu was nothing but human and the goddesses couldn't feel any human from them. So they needed samples of the dead man to resurrect. Hades was impressed and angered. While this technique more surpassed his power but to sacrifice a human that he not like. The Sandame then looked around, realizing himself was at the living world once again. He then turned his eyes to the only person in the room he knew was there and could perform this technique. Now we will have our answers why he lied us. Both Zeus and Hera thought at unison. Orochimaru, the Sandame said before looking around. He could see that every member of Team 7 was here as well. What is going on here? Why did you summon me this time for Orochimaru? Naruto Uzumaki wanted to ask you a question, and who am I to refuse the request of the hero of the shinobi war? Orochimaru chuckled before turning around. I will leave you guys two alone. With that, the Sannin worked out of the room with Jugo and Suigetsu pulling Karen behind them, who was screaming about not leaving Sasuke's side. "We will let you hear too, Naruto," Kakashi said and hurried outside with the rest of Team 7. "Thank you, Kakashi-sensei. Now that we are alone," the Sandaime turned to Naruto and said kindly, "Naruto-kun, what do you want to ask me?" If the question wasn't very important, Naruto would never go to Orochimaru to ask for help from a forbidden jutsu to have a direct answer from him. He got a feeling that he knew what Naruto was going to ask, but he didn't think that the blonde could find out after all these years. "Oji-chan, do you know who they are?" Naruto asked, stepping aside a little and motioned his hand to Artemis and Athena, the two Olympians' goddesses. "They are Athena, Olympians, goddess of war and wisdom, and Artemis, Olympians, goddess of the moon and hunt." Sarutobi widened his eyes in shock before his expression returned to normal, instantly letting Naruto know that the old man knew more than he appeared to be. "So you find out, Naruto-kun," Sarutobi said calmly, his eyes not leaving Naruto. "Your parent finally finds out the truth." "But why, Ji-chan?" Naruto asked. He could barely believe all of that was true. "Why did you not give me to my parent when they came back to find me?" "Naruto-kun, not just because you're the son of Minato Namikaze and Kushina Uzumaki, you're also the son of Zeus and Hera, the royal couple of Mount Olympus, the god's realm." Naruto stayed silent in order to let the Sandaime explain. The great Toad Sage had foretold that the child of the prophecy would be a student of Jiraiya that would bring a great revolution to the world of the ninja. Jiraiya's actions would determine if this revolution would be for the world's salvation or the world's destruction. You, Naruto-kun, is one of the children of prophecy and the one who bring the world's salvation and fulfill the prophecy. Lady Athena, Lady Artemis, who is the first ones you think about when it came to prophecy. He then turned to the two goddesses and asked with a respectful tone. "Someone who can decide, who can change and control the destinies of others." "Fates," Hera growled. How she not thought that three old hags is responsible that Sandaime forced to lie them. Zeus frowned. "He will talk with them about that. I would think about my brother Apollo, the god of prophecy, but..." Artemis then said, "But if you're talking about someone who can control the destiny, then..." "The fates." Athena nodded her head and Sarutobi also nodded. "They came to me the same night Minato and Kushina died, releasing their godly counterpart from their body. Zeus and Athena. It was a dark night and Sarutobi never felt so scared before in his life. I am one of the only two people that know about Naruto-kun's parents' true origin, the other is Jiraiya. That night, three women appeared before me when I was about to bring Naruto-kun to his parent, knowing full well that they will come back for their son. Why they always try to ruin my family." Hera began to cry when a hand put on her shoulder. She looked to see a saddened Ria trying to comfort her. "They came and told me that no matter what happened I must not give Naruto-kun to his godly parent because by the time Naruto left this world, there will be no children of prophecy, and if there was no children of prophecy, this world by this time is done for." Sarutobi continued. "Sooner or later when Kaguya Otsutsuki is done with our world, she will head to the realm of the gods to take the position she thought was hers. So with that they stopped a future threat to us. That reasonable?" Athena nodded at Fate's logic. Hera only disagreed at Metis' daughter logic, thinking that the Fates should have choose someone other than her son. "Everything would end if you did not stay here, Naruto-kun. Was my life is just a simple game for someone to control?" Naruto asked through gritted teeth. He still remembered Neji's words during their fight at the Chunin exam years ago, that fate could not be changed. He said he could change fate, and yet, all his life, what he do had been decided by three old women. They took the opportunity of having a family, what he desired the most, away from him just because some stupid prophecy. "That will change, son. I promise. We will give a family." Zeus promised. "The fates shouldn't be able to affect your life, Naruto-kun," Sarutobi said with a sad eyes. "Our world is completely separated from theirs. Each person can choose what they want to do in this world, but you're the son of two Olympians. Human or god, you're still the son of them, two beings from that world." Zeus and Hera didn't know that they had gave birth to a perfect child who the fates can use to stop the end of the war. Naruto gritted his teeth even harder and slammed his fist on the wall, completely shattered that section under his strength. "Fates, huh?" Naruto snorted with anger. "You three, can you leave us alone?" The immortal group knew better than argue with Naruto at the moment, so they quickly got out of the room and left Naruto alone with Sarutobi. "What are you going to do now, Naruto-kun?" the old Hokage said. "Now? I'm going to that world," he said before grinning evilly. "Not just because I want to meet my parent and seek for something I always wanted. I want to mess with fate." Truthfully, he wanted to beat them, since gods couldn't die, simply fade away for a few years or so before returning. It would be very simple to beat them until they couldn't get up from the ground. No, that would be too easy. He wanted to prove to them that his life wasn't for them to decide. He would piss them off first, do something that was out of original, he would mess with their domains. He would change every single future they decided to his liking. That Uzumaki Naruto for you. Helper chuckled. Honestly, this boy is always unpredictable. Unpredictable is in your name, brat. Kurama smirked. But not even gods dare to defy the fates like you. Are you sure you're ready to take this challenge? You know me, Kurama, Naruto said with a confident smile. I will show them I am more than capable of doing that. Ji-chan, Naruto looked at the Hokage. Thank you for telling me the truth. I think I know what I should do. I'm sorry for not telling you, Naruto-kun, but as you can see, I died too soon before you can mature enough to handle the information, Sarutobi said sadly. Don't worry, Ji-chan. But Naruto-kun, if you decided to go to your parent world, I have a few words for you. He then said with serious tone. The world you are about to go to is a very complicated world. The gods held pride and powers that sometime, they shouldn't be the people you think they should be. Even your parent Naruto, Zeus and Hera. While they could be one of the greatest people in this world at human, they was not the best kind of gods out there. Even the two goddesses waiting for you outside, Naruto nodded. Athena might appear to be a wise goddess. Artemis could be a very prideful goddess, but sometime, they are not who you think. Just promise me that when you know the truth, you will handle wisely everything like the hero you are, who led the shinobi world to victory.
That's all for now. If you want to see next part, then please like this video and subscribe my channel. Thank you.